Yeah?
Yeah, it's Friday. You know what that means.
Yeah?
It is episode 343 of everyone's favorite wrestling podcast, the F and Marks.
I'm Jay, and he is.
The Brainless one.
Yeah?
You know what? I'll be honest. This seemed like a little bit slow, newsworthy-wise, in professional wrestling. And because I was going through all my notes and everything, I didn't really get a lot. But it's crazy because I am going to spend a very good amount of this podcast talking about two specific people in particular.
All right.
Well, three technically. It's a tag team and then a single person that I'd like to discuss.
Okay. There are plenty of people to discuss and things to discuss. Is that where you want to start, or do you want to go elsewhere?
We could go elsewhere. That is fine. I'd like to build up the anticipation for when I finally brainless myself.
Okay. All right. You know, instead of starting the show, Tim already chiming in. Fuck the Young Bucks. We will definitely get to that. But I wanted to start with something at least a little lighter than some of the craziness that went on. Gritty has taken Snoop Dogg's golden WWE title. The title, by the way, which was being held and being secured by the Philadelphia Eagles. As a Giants fan, what do you say about that? Specifically after what you witnessed last weekend.
I mean, honestly, what did you expect? You left it with the Philadelphia Eagles. Do I need to go into detail about what they have done with their fans? Do we talk about how they had this one robot that traveled the world? It was a peace robot. It made it through every other continent and every other country. And then when it got to the United States, it got taken out in Philadelphia. These are the same people who hurled snowballs at Santa Claus.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter that it happened in 1969. If you did it, you did it. It doesn't matter when it happened. It happened. You're the fan base who threw snowballs at Santa Claus. I've never, in all of my years of being a sports fan, 30 plus years, 35 as a Red Sox fan, I have never met a more disgusting, ruthless set of individuals like Eagles fans. If you are a fan of the Giants or the Cowboys, and I can't believe I'm actually lumping the Cowboys in this, and as Tim can attest to as a Commanders fan, if you have ever heard a flock of Eagle fans singing that stupid fucking fight song after they have won a game, you do not know what sheer torture is. Because that is the worst thing you have to watch, and I've watched episodes of AEW Dynamite. Am I surprised? Is that what you asked me? If I am surprised that the Golden WWE Championship that WWE gave to Snoop Doggy Dogg, WWE Hall of Famer Snoop Doggy Dogg, is missing in Philadelphia?
Yes, and that Gritty took it.
Oh, Gritty definitely took it. I'll tell you exactly where it is. It's in one of two places. It's either at Pat's or it's at Geno's because he traded that belt for a cheesesteak.
You know, maybe we should go on Twitter at some point and ask Gritty, do you prefer Pat or Geno's, just so we could figure out where the title is.
Not for nothing, the only good thing about Philadelphia is the cheesesteaks and Gritty. And Rocky Balboa. I apologize. And Rocky Balboa.
Would you put the Philly Fanatic in there?
I suppose I could put the Philly Fanatic in there. I mean, there was that great episode of It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia where him and Charlie got into a fight outside of Actually, it was at an Eagles game, I think, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
When Mac and Dennis and D were trying out for the Eagles.
Tim also, like you, appreciates the Fly Eagles Fly song. One of my favorite things is when getting together with some of our friends to watch football, and one of them specifically does a trolling version of Fly Eagles Fly. It's basically when they throw an interception, fumble the football, or give up a touchdown. Our friend Doug from Kickball.
Yeah, I can't really sing my version of that song because we'll get canceled from Facebook, so I'm not doing that.
All right. So Tim and Jessica both said hello. Thanks for tuning in. As always, for anybody new here, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe to us. And we're a podcast that feeds off people commenting and just having a conversation. So
yeah.
We
love interactions on this podcast.
Yeah. All right. So, and another piece of good news, in my view, it was announced that Dark Side of the Ring Season 5 has been greenlit, and they have not announced an official release date, but it does sound like we're getting Dark Side of the Ring in March. They have not stated what topics they're going to cover, but, I thought Season 4 was a step up from what Season 3 was. I think Season 3, like after how good Season 2 was, Vice was like, we need more of this. And it just ended up being where there's stories that they told weren't probably quite as good. On top of the fact that with Dark Side of the Ring, it's like, yes, we have decades of dark stuff that went on in pro wrestling, but I'm sure for the most part they were trying to get the best of the best stuff in the first couple of years. Hey, on X, our boy Jimmy is tuning in. Dude, been a long time. Thank you.
Little Jimmy, what's up?
Trust the process.
Oh, I trust the process. I'm excited. I've always enjoyed the Dark Side of the Ring because you know me, and I've mentioned it before on many episodes of the podcast. Two of my favorite things in this world are documentaries and professional wrestling. So when you can combine the two for them, whether the story is about good, bad, or indifferent, I am locked in. Whether it was the Tales of the Territory, whether it was any of the documentaries that WWE has done over the years, whether it was the A&E documentaries, or if it was just Dark Side of the Rings, I've enjoyed all of those.
Yeah.
Very good. They've come up with a lot of good content. My question is, what really could be left that has not been discussed at this point?
All in, all out. I mean, Tim's saying they could do 10 episodes on just Vince McMahon as his payoffs and the dastardly things that he's done. I think there are plenty of topics left out there, but I think most of the urban legends and things that people had wondered about, asked about, a lot of them they've hit on. I'm sure that there's plenty more to go, but I'm sure there's stuff that happened way back, but like just less culturally known and relevant today. So there's that, but I'm looking forward to it. Beyond that, Jimmy, dude, it's been 3 years. How y'all been? Dude, Jimmy, it's been good, Oh, wait a second. I got to stop a dog fight here. Little Sheba thinks she can beat up Petey.
No.
But anyway, yeah, I mean, the past couple of years, Jimmy, Brainless won and I got hitched, live in different places. So, we've had to improvise how we do the show. Occasionally, we still get together and do it in person. I don't know. It won't be WrestleMania this year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And to clarify, we didn't get hitched to each other. We were actually the best men in each other's weddings. And on top of that, we put our wives for marrying us into the Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's been an interesting thing, and I'm glad to see you chiming in, Jimmy. 3 years, I can't believe it's been 3 years.
Well, I mean, when they got rid of Periscope all those years ago, we couldn't go live anymore, and it basically was Elon Musk taking over and changing it to X, and like, oh, we're going to do the live thing again. So I just noticed it a couple weeks ago, like, hey, this is available to us. So through the streaming service we use, thankfully, it's made our whole process a lot easier, because we used to have to stack a whole bunch of different things on top of each other. We would have a tablet in one spot, we would have a web camera on another, and then we'd have a cell phone below that.
And an 8mm.
Yeah. Yeah. So
the setup is now my new favorite part about the podcast after Curtis Axel.
Jimmy's asking, do we go on Twitch? We have not been on Twitch. That has not been something I have leaped into it at this point, that we haven't leaped into. I know it's pretty popular, very popular actually, with a lot of wrestlers and wrestling fans, but yeah.
I have no idea what Twitch is. I've heard of it. I'm sure it's like some kind of streaming thing with like video games or something like that. Mm-hmm. If I'm not mistaken, that Adam Cole, baby, is actually on Twitch, if I remember correctly. I don't really know too much about it. Or maybe it's something I could look into, but unfortunately, we're not on Twitch.
We are not. All right. Jimmy's saying Dark Side of the Ring can be on Curtis Axel.
Could be on Duke Drosy.
Yes. I think Duke Drosy could be a good one. I don't think they've done anything on the last days of Mr. Perfect yet.
No, they haven't done Mr. Perfect yet. That would actually be a really good one.
That could be one. I don't know if F and Mark's Hall of Famer Curtis Axel would want to do it, but you never know.
What about the Big Boss Man?
I don't think there's a lot of crazy stuff that went on in his life outside of the fact that he died of a heart attack at a young age. But
all right,
I didn't they do an A&E documentary on him?
I think so. I'd have to double check, because they've done a lot of them with a lot of wrestlers, and it's hard to keep track.
I mean, heck, they could do a Dark Side of the Ring on that dude that they got to use to be one of the pro wrestlers who died during their in between season 4 and 5, because they got a guy who is one of the stand-in stunt doubles, and he apparently died.
Yeah.
Dark Side of the Ring about Dark Side of the Ring. Tim chiming in with Mr. Perfect, Rick Rude, and George the Animal Steel. I think all those would be interesting. I mean, George the Animal Steel, I remember stories back in the day about him being like a college professor by day and George the Animal by night.
Now, has this been confirmed, like how Hulk Hogan has claimed that he wrestled 400 days in a year? Have we confirmed that George the Animal Steel was an actual professor at Harvard or Yale?
We have not confirmed that officially. We'll check our sources.
You know what? I need to bring this up since a name was mentioned. I had posted earlier about a list. It was 15 people who do not belong in the WWE Hall of Fame. And yes, Cousin Jay, Coco Beware was on that list. Of course he was, because why wouldn't he have been on the list? Just like Drew Carey was on that list. The Bushwhackers were on that list. Sonny was on that list. And I 100% agree that she should not be in the WWE Hall of Fame.
Right.
But I think it's time for us to have the discussion about whether or not the Coco Beware line should continue to still be the benchmark of what a Hall of Famer should be in the WWE Hall of Fame.
Why is that Brainless one?
Because the top name on that list that was posted by Sportster, and I'm very skeptical to actually even consider this, considering the source, because Sportster's two favorite things are to do is to tell you something's happening in a show, and then you get stuck to the live results, and you have to look through to see what the hell they're talking about that happened 2 hours after, into the show. And they also like to say, hey, AEW, former WWE superstar, makes shocking return to AEW. But regardless, they said the number one person who should not be in the WWE Hall of Fame is none other than the Great Khali. I understand that the Great Khali was a world heavyweight champion.
He was.
But a lot of times people become champions for stupid reasons. And there was no rightful reason for this man to be a champion because the guy couldn't fucking wrestle. He hurt people. He killed somebody in the ring. He should not be a WWE Hall of Famer. He is more of he should have a star on the Walk of Fame before he should be in the WWE Hall of Fame. Let's be serious. At the grand scheme of things, was Koko B. Ware at least a better wrestler than the Great Khali?
Oh, no doubt about it. As far as an attraction and somebody who has some accolades in WWE, Great Khali beats Koko B. Ware. Tim is saying even he believes that Nikolai Volkov is below Koko B. Ware and that it should be the Nikolai Volkov line. I would say to you that Nikolai Volkov won the tag team championships and also did actually have a championship match against Hulk Hogan at some point. I don't even recall Koko going for the Intercontinental title, if I'm being truthful. He may have, but I don't even remember him going for that.
I'll even take it a step further. Because, yes, Koko B. Ware, the only reason Koko B. Ware was over was because of the bird. Let's be serious. Frankie was the main attraction of Koko B. Ware.
Hey, his song was awesome too.
The song was awesome too. I'm not gonna take that away. And yes, Koko B. Ware could actually wrestle. But let me tell you something about Nikolai Volkov. Him and the Iron Sheik standing in the ring as Nikolai Volkov is screaming the Soviet Union national anthem as the Iron Sheik is screaming at people to tell him to respect him and Haktui. Tell me two human beings in the history of professional wrestling that could get heat like Nikolai Volkov and the Iron Sheik.
That was back in the day when enough people still thought it was real, and sometimes they had to have security get them out of the ring.
And on top of it all, Nikolai Volkov had a very integral part during the one WrestleMania that this brainless bastard got to be a part of as a fan, when I got to watch him on the side of Bam Bam Bigelow as, I don't know, an enforcer or a bodyguard or a lumberjack. They didn't really go. All I remember was Steve Mongo McMichael was there.
Yes.
And he was there. He was there with Tatanka without the red hair and King Kong Bundy, who was basically the big cat of WrestleMania 11 because he pulled double duty.
Hey, that's high praise for King Kong Bundy. High praise.
King Kong Bundy main evented WrestleMania, fought for the WWE Championship when it was a WWF title, and he got to fight The Undertaker at that same WrestleMania 11. He should be in the Hall of Fame. I've been talking about this for nearly 8 years now. Hell, probably even longer than that. King Kong Bundy should be in the Hall of Fame. But the Great Khali is.
Chris Brown chiming in. A flaming bag of dog shit had more talent than the Great Khali, the human tree trunk. Tim says Koko B. Ware equals SD Jones.
Hey, SD Jones. Hey, SD Jones, at the end of the day, was a record-breaking wrestler in WWE because he was on the losing end of the fastest match in WrestleMania history that lasted well over 20 years.
All right. Favorite WrestleMania squash match? Bundy, SD Jones, Chavo Guerrero versus Kane, John Cena versus The Undertaker, or Daniel Bryan versus Sheamus.
Look, I want to say Daniel Bryan versus Sheamus in the worst possible way, just because I've mentioned before that I ate a very special cookie right before that match started. And the second Sheamus's music hit is when I knew that very special cookie was kicking in. So when they actually decided to start off WrestleMania 28 with an 18-second World Heavyweight Championship squash match, when I say I had to pull myself out of my ceiling, my roommate was upstairs pushing me through the floor in the attic to make sure I got, because I was shocked. But King Kong Bundy beating the shit out of SD Jones is my favorite squash match in the history of squash matches. I am sorry. It's that Sheamus and Daniel Bryan at WrestleMania 28 and every match that Ryback ever had that wasn't against anybody of substance.
Jimmy chiming in saying, just want Ryback in the Hall of Fame as a headliner. I'm sure he just wants the Ryback-tism.
I understand. What was he? He was an Intercontinental Champion, right? If I'm not mistaken.
He was. He may have even had like a cup of coffee with like a tag team championship at some point. But like he had a world title match. That's more than Coco could ever say.
And just like SD Jones, he was a part of history. He was the one who got his ass kicked when the Shield debuted.
Yeah.
So there you go. He's above the Coco Beware Great Khali line.
Also, Embiid is missing another game. What are we in 2021?
Can we at least? All right. Can we just at least make it the Coco Beware Great Khali line?
I'm okay with that.
Or at least balance them out. Okay.
You know, if 1 week we want to do the Great Khali line, the next week the Coco Beware line, that's fine.
Okay, fair.
All right. Tim saying, but the bell has to ring after the Russian national anthem. That's what he was saying about Nikolai Volkov. All right. Chris Brown saying Dominic Mysterio and Vicky Guerrero could have gotten the same amount of heat as Volkov and Sheik. I agree. You put them together today, I would hope that Vicky could still get the heat that she used to. I think enough people watched her 10 years ago that would, when she came out and said, excuse me, it's his stepmom, right?
Exactly.
Right?
Honestly, if they wanted to take him out of the Spooky Pals and separate him from Rhea, that would be the perfect combination to have him and Vicky Guerrero together. I really do, because honest to goodness, that's the only way you can get any more heat on that kid than he already has.
Jimmy cannot wait for a 3MB reunion. You know what? I'm going to throw this out there. His name has not been put out there as far as somebody going to be in the Royal Rumble. In the worst possible way, I want Heath Slater to be in this year's Royal Rumble and for 3MB to be the only three people in the ring. They sit there and they do their air guitar for like 10 seconds, and then McIntyre throws like both of them out simultaneously. I would be completely fine with that. I'm saying it's going to happen. Mark my words, this is 2 weeks before the show. I feel we're going to get a 3MB reunion, and it's going to be one of the greatest moments, but it's clearly not going to be mark-out moment of the year because Kevin Dunn already fired himself.
That is the greatest thing ever. And it's crazy, too, because I could segue to two separate things because that one topic kind of branched out into two different ways that I could go. Because the first thing
Tim is saying we need a top 10 jobber list, by the way.
Top 10 jobber list? Done.
Yes.
Not this week. Top 10 jobber. Number one.
Jimmy was asking, was it like a THC gummy?
We'll call it that. Close enough. but it was in cookie form.
C is for cookie. That's good enough for me.
So I'm going to segue to that since you mentioned the Royal Rumble. There was a lot of rumors, and I know I had mentioned before that there was a leaked script for what the Royal Rumble was going to be, where the last two people were going to be CM Punk and Cody Rhodes, which Tony Khan would probably shoot himself in the face if that happened. But one of the names that was on there as the one Hall of Fame participant was X-Pac, Sean Waltman. And earlier this week, Sean Waltman came out and did an interview and said, no, I am actually not going to be in the Royal Rumble. What are your thoughts on the fact that X-Pac will not be in the 2024 Royal Rumble?
I don't believe anything anybody says this close to an event like this, because you know what they've actually been good at in the last handful of years?
Surprising
Crap
people?
like this not getting out. If you go 5+ years ago, everything leaked onto the internet right before, sometimes weeks before things happened. I'm glad the dastardly Vince McMahon, called the plumber Mox, and he came and fixed the leak. And that's probably why Moxley ended up in AEW. He's like, I'm sick of being a plumber here for Vince McMahon. Let me go and plumb for the man who has the most L's on Twitter I've ever seen in my life.
Nose Candy Khan.
Tony Khan.
Which is crazy to think, but real quickly, I'm going to let it be known right now. If X-Pac does come out in the Royal Rumble, I am going to pop. Not as much as I'm going to pop when he finally gets thrown out of the match by whoever. Hopefully it's Omos. At that point, if Omos eliminates X-Pac from the Royal Rumble, if he's in it, that's going to be Omos is my wrestler of the year.
Jimmy wants to see Omos and Embiid as a tag team.
No, because Embiid would get hurt, and Omos never shows up anyway.
Well, I mean, Omos is just an attraction.
He's Omos there. No. Jacinta would have liked that joke, and you know it.
Yes. Yep.
But you mentioned Tony Khan taking L's on Twitter.
Yep.
Whatever could you mean about how Tony Khan's taking L's on Twitter? What did he do now, Cousin Jay, that he's actually taking L's on Twitter once again?
He goes on Twitter to point out, the ridiculous of WWE booking. And what he said is absolutely true. Jinder Mahal has won absolutely nothing in about a year. They bring him out on TV to be with The Rock. Quite literally the biggest thing that has ever come out of professional wrestling. And The Rock, that record that he set when he showed up in Denver, and they pretended it didn't existed when CM Punk came back, and they said, oh my God, we have never gotten this much social media interaction. CM Punk got 70 million. It's like The Rock got over 100 million 2 months before, but they were trying to make the CM Punk thing feel like a big deal. The Rock thing with Jinder Mahal on social media was 171 million views between all the social media platforms, which clearly, Jinder, I'm not going to say held his own, but did a good job. WWE having Jinder out there to troll the audience just long enough for The Rock to come out, and then getting all that exposure and being in the ring with The Rock. Oh, by the way, I cannot wait for The Rock versus Jinder in a Punjabi prison match in India. Jinder did throw out the challenge that the next time they're in India, he challenges The Rock. I want it to be in a Punjabi prison match.
I am now convinced you do that on purpose. You wait for me to drink, and then you say Clash 13 or Punjabi Prison, or you mention Duke Drosy. I'm convinced of this now. But you and I both know that if they gave us The Rock and the Jinder inside of a Punjabi prison in India, it would be the greatest premium live event, and it's going to win the Marquee Award for me for the premium live event of the year. So, of course,
we know that the great Khali, WWE Hall of Famer, Great Khali, would get involved in some way, shape, or form. They would probably even bring the Singh brothers back, just so we could have The Rock throw them from the top of the Punjabi prison out onto probably I'm thinking like Mortal Kombat style, where like he does a fatality. But they'll get back up. I mean, it'll be like when Randy Orton, flipped the Singh brother, and like you could he was like, "Oh, maybe I over-rotated him a little bit," and he was like.
And while we're at it, we might as well add in Indus Sher, the team of Veer and not Veer. That way, you got them.
All that being said, Tony Khan was not wrong in saying Jinder Mahal has won nothing, and now all of a sudden he's getting a title match out of nowhere. And going on and on about like, hey, fans go on and on about how my booking doesn't make sense. What are they doing over there? This dude is getting a title shot. He hasn't won anything ever. And I put Hook, who's 28-1, with an opportunity to get a title match, and people are flipping out on me over it. Also, he's not wrong there, but Hook has not built up any sort of base. He doesn't have either heat or like face cheering at this point, like where it's like, ah!
Right.
Jinder did that in a week by being in the ring with The Rock and trolling the damn audience. So as much as I think records do to an extent matter, they are not the only thing. You gotta build the person, build the character, and that person, if they have charisma, have it, can get people to believe in the story you're telling. But Tony Khan flipping out about all of this, and then Jinder responding with the who's Hook?
Who the fuck is Hook?
I mean, that's like A1 level trolling. I know he took down the tweet because he actually is friends with Taz, and like it was more to take a jab at Tony than it was to take a jab at Hook. Wait. Should it be a hook at Hook?
It's a hook.
It's a hook at Hook. All that being said, still my favorite response.
Am I allowed the floor?
Sure. Go ahead.
Get the response. I want to hear the best response first, and then I want the floor.
All right. Santi Zap said, and I quote, "Don't want to hear that Tony Khan doesn't make stars. He made Jinder Mahal a megastar." That tweet was liked by Randy Orton.
That was the thing I sent you.
And then at the very end, put Booker of the Year.
I get all of my resources from Cage Match.
Yep.
Can I tag myself in, please?
Yes.
I've been waiting for this. I've been waiting for two things today. I've been waiting for this. I've been waiting about those two little fuckheads that I'm going to be talking about later on in the podcast. Tony Khan. Yes. Hook versus Samoa Joe. On paper, looks like a really good match. I may actually It's piqued my interest. But like you said, what has Hook done? Hook, yes, he's the FTW champion. He's a two-time FTW champion. He lost to Jungle Boy. He lost the belt to Jungle Boy. It was right before Jungle. It was right after Jungle Boy said, "Real glass, gravy and river." Is when he lost the FTW title to Jungle Jerk, or he actually won it back from Jungle Jerk. I think it's gonna be a great match. Where's the build to this? Why is Hook getting this match? Why? Because he's 26-1. Sting hasn't lost a match in AEW. And what does he get? We're going to discuss that later.
Yeah?
I have no issue whatsoever with Hook getting this match. My issue with Tony Khan is you guys sit here and rail me for my booking, and yet this is what's happening over there, and this is what's happening over here. Well, Tony Khan, you decided that you were going to put Edward Moore, your now tri-champion of, I don't even remember, I've lost track because I know he's Ring of Honor World Champion, and he's like the G1, I don't know, is that the open weight champion or the pure weight or whatever the hell it is in New Japan, and then he just won whatever the freaking championship it was that you just gave out to him for winning the Continental Classic. So you have a Continental champion and an international champion. You just want to be WWE in the worst possible way. And you booked a champion to be in that match. And unless Edward Moore went undefeated in that thing, it's stupid booking because you're putting your champion in a non-title match and he's losing, which isn't as stupid booking as it is. Number two, you do a lot of these things like I've mentioned before on the podcast, where all you do is you take action figures out of your bin and say, oh, look, I'm going to do Trent Beretta versus Evil Uno because that's why. You look like you had a thought.
Back in the day when I was a kid, I would have Skeletor go against other He-Man men in my wrestling ring. That was how I booked. That's what it feels like Tony Khan does.
Jay, I once booked The Undertaker teaming up with Demolition to battle the Ninja Turtles.
And because Skeletor was blue, I always kind of like in my mind thought of him as the big boss man. So the boss man slam was his ending move. It was quite something. It really was. You should have saw the matches I had. Sometimes that there were a few Broadways in there.
Ooh.
Yeah.
That's what I'm talking about.
Hour long. Legit clock, hour-long matches. And then I had a He-Man action figure. Looked absolutely nothing like Akeem, but I decided that needed to team up with Skeletor, so they were the Twin Towers.
Oh, that's beautiful. Yeah. I once made Smash WWE champion, so I have no room to talk. But
and it was Smash. It wasn't the Repo Man.
It wasn't the Repo Man. I don't even think I have. I'd have to look through my action figures maybe another day. But my issue is this is how he's booking. He's booking champions in tournaments like this, and they're losing matches. He's putting these random people together where he's just picking random action figures out of his bin and like, oh, this is what I'm going to do. And I hate the fact that I hate to keep beating this dead horse. But this is the man who once had Ruby Soho battle against Chris Statlander for the TBS championship. She lost that match, which is the secondary championship for the women's division. And a month later, without winning any, for whatever reason, I don't even know if she even won a contendership match. She shouldn't have been in that match because she just lost the secondary title match. She should have been at the end of the line. That's the line that's way past the end of the line. That's, hey, kid, the line's back there in A Christmas Story. That's where Ruby Soho needs to be, where Ralphie was in A Christmas Story. But a month after she loses that match to Chris Statlander, she's getting a match with Hikaru Shida for the women's championship. Why was MJF fighting for the Ring of Honor Tag Team Championships? It was stupid. You turn Jungle Boy heel. And now the way that things are going, the way the rumors are making it seem like, the Jungle Boy is going to be back with Dino Man. He's talking about his booking. And he's going after WWE because they're giving a former WWE champion. And it's not like he had like a Bob Backlund or Mick Foley type of run as WWE champion. Jinder Mahal held the title
Wait. Bob Backlund 2.0
Bob Backlund when he
championship.
dropped the title to Diesel.
Because the first time he had a title was 6 years.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. Let me rephrase that. It's not like he had a title reign like the one that Mick Foley and Mr. Bob Backlund had back in the 90s.
Yes. Thank you.
He had it for over 170 days. That's almost half the year. That is an impressive run. I don't care who it is. That's half as long as The Rock has held every WWE championship he's ever held combined. Jinder Mahal was as shitty as he was as a champion that people think. I actually enjoyed him as world champion. I love the fact that he was getting that heat from the fans. He wasn't having terrible matches. I was just so dumbfounded that Randy Orton takes the title from frickin' Bray Wyatt after we watched the creepy crawly match at WrestleMania. And then a month later, he's dropping the title to the Jinder to appease the Indians so that they would buy the WWE network and pay for this 2-night show that they were supposed to have that turned into a 1-night house show at a smaller venue. And we're still waiting for Veer
Triple H took out the golden shovel.
And he buried Jinder Mahal.
Yeah.
Because Brock Lesnar didn't want to work with Jinder Mahal.
All right. Jimmy had the bounce, but said, classic Jimmy joke. Who's Peter Pan's favorite wrestler?
Hook.
Yeah.
Oh,
all right.
That's good shit.
Yeah.
But, like, it's just so stupid. Why do they let this man on Twitter? Why? Why is he going after people? What is the benefit? I can understand somebody like me going after people because I'm not running a multi-million-dollar wrestling organization. Because my dad's not a multi-billionaire for making a bumper for cars. Because my dad's not running an NFL team and a team in Europe for soccer. Because my dad doesn't have billions of dollars, so I can go out there and act like an idiot. I'll just end up in Facebook jail like he does. Why does this man have access to social media? He's coming off as a jackass.
This is where Tony Khan finally needs to pivot and become full heel.
He should have been the devil. If he was the devil, all this would make sense. All this would be great. Instead, we're going to, thanks, guys. I'm just going to make another announcement because I haven't made 840 of them so far since their inception, even though we've only had like 200 episodes of everything. I have to make all these announcements on Dynamite because I can't make them on Elevation Dark. Dino Man and Luke Perry are getting reunited. Reunited, and it feels so good.
Tim asked, is Ruby Soho now Charlotte Flair? Chris Brown chiming in saying, no, that's Britt Baker. I'm going to say, for the time being, no, neither of them are Charlotte Flair because Ruby Soho is not constantly like shoved down our throats, even though she may have been in the title picture when not necessary. It doesn't quite work like that. And as far as Britt Baker, it's like Britt Baker more or less has spent the last year not on TV. If she was Charlotte Flair, if she was healthy and available, like Britt Baker has been, she would be on TV.
Yes. Ruby, so I thought it was just interesting because it just proves, and I've been saying this, it was a Christmas gift for him, for crying out loud. He doesn't know how to book the women's division. And now he's got Deonna Purrazzo.
He's got Deonna Purrazzo, and there are a lot of people speculating, and the belief is that Mercedes Moné is going to be going to AEW. And Eric Bischoff said she's not a needle mover. I 100% agree with that. Oh, by the way, I've been talking about that and saying that for a while. It's great that she has her gig on The Mandalorian. I think she's talented as an in-ring performer. And I think as a character, like, hey, there's a lot to love and dislike about her character, and that gets the fans involved. I just don't like the person who walks out on companies because I don't like what they're doing. I deserve better than this. I'm going to ask them for more money than Charlotte Flair's been getting, even though I really haven't made my star rise at all since I left.
It's been a wet fart. I can't wait, Jay. I cannot wait for her to go to AEW, because if she had issues with Vince McMahon, she's definitely gonna not like Tony Khan. He couldn't book a women's division. He can't book wrestling as it is if they came out with a book called Wrestling Booking for Dummies. I could do a better job booking for AEW, Jay. They won't let me do it. I've sent in my resume at least 7 times. It's not my fault that my cover letter says "fuck the Bucks." That's not my fault. They can at least give back to me and let me know whether or not I get the job as lead booker. It's not my fault I'm going to have freaking the Young Bucks and Kenny Omega in a shove my head up my own ass match. That's not my fault.
Are you pulling a Snitsky?
No. I'm pulling a
Are you going to punt
one.
the child?
No, I would never do such a thing.
It's not my fault.
It's not my fault. They made fun of me because I was a freak.
Clothesline.
By the way, somebody asked the Solid Monster, because it was another point that I was actually going to bring up, since we were talking about AEW and how Jim Ross's contract with AEW is about to expire, or is already expired. And somebody had asked the Solid Monster, who I have a lot of respect for in the wrestling podcast game, because he is one of the better ones, and I aspire to be like him one day if I wasn't brainless. And they had asked him, by the way, speaking of the Great Khali, I asked him who he thought would win the Great Khali versus Giant Gonzalez in a wrestling match, and he said nobody. Because the fans shouldn't be subjected to a match of that magnitude. He had said, because somebody had asked if they would bring in Jim Ross to replace Panty Patrick as the lead voice for SmackDown, and he said Jim Ross is way past his prime, and he's probably not going to want to do this on a full-time basis. They need to find somebody, because it's not him, and it's definitely not Kevin Patrick. But first, what are your thoughts on the GOAT, Jim Ross, good old JR, being done with AEW?
You know, Jim Ross did talk about wanting to get extended, feeling like he had something left to offer. The last year and a half, 2 years of Jim Ross on commentary, he's just old. He's just old. He is not as sharp as he once was. I mean, look at our current president.
I'd rather not.
I mean, he's clearly in some stage of dementia. Jim Ross is not quite in a stage of dementia, but the dude keeps on being having medical reasons for not being able to perform his duties, as an announcer. I think Jim Ross would be a perfectly fine consultant to a commentator if they wanted to bring him in to coach Kevin Patrick, maybe to teach him some breathing exercises.
Elbow off the top rope. Rock bottom.
Tim appreciated our Kevin Patrick impersonation, by the way. Yeah.
It's the reason why I watch
Chris
SmackDown
Brown saying it's his understanding Tony Schiavone and JR are going to call Sting's last match. They better get Gary Michael Capetta They better.
They better. That's the only way that match is going to be.
Bring him out to the ring.
All right, you know what? That's it. It's been mentioned. It keeps getting flirted around with. Let's talk about the elephant in the room. Is there a little graphic that we get when the Brainless one goes on his rant? Do we have one of those? I hate to do this. Oh, there it is. Yes, the Brainless one rants. So it was announced on Wednesday. Well, actually, it was announced a while ago that Sting's last match was going to be at AEW Revolution in not the distant future. And a lot of people were speculating who Sting's opponent, who was going to be Sting's last opponent in his wrestling career. So as Tony Schiavone was so subtly announcing, just like when he told everybody that Mick Foley was about to win the WWE Championship 25 years ago last week that we talked about it, he had subtly mentioned that I wonder who Sting's last opponent's going to be. And two douchebags with douchebag mustaches wearing douchebag clothes from a douchebag store came out and were face-to-face with Sting, and we found out that two douchebags are going to be fighting Sting and Darby Allin in Sting's last match. Cousin Jay, do you dare to take a guess what part of that bothers me the most?
All of it. And Tony Khan has come out and said, whatever Sting wants for his last match and for his send-off, I want to build that and make it happen. Clearly, Sting wants it to be with the Bucks and wants this to be the end of the road for him. The only way for me that I'm okay with this is if Darby Allin turns on Sting at the end of this match. I don't want exploding super kicks. I want a good wrestling match. And I want a good story told without all the douchery. And I don't think we can avoid that.
Sting, in my mind, for a long...
Sorry.
I swear to God, I think I just heard the Black Scorpion. By the way, that won't be the last time I mention Clash 13 tonight.
Okay.
This is Sting. Is, in my opinion, the greatest WCW wrestler of all time. He's my all-time favorite for WCW. He is known as a singles competitor. I get the fact that he's up there in age. Him at 64, he moves better at 64 than I do at 40, people. Let's just be honest for 2 seconds. He was a singles guy. This should be an opportunity where he's going to do the honors for Darby Allin, to kind of give that rub to Darby Allin so that he can end his career. There is no benefit of a guy who, in all the years, who was Sting's most well-known tag team partner?
Well, the WCW fan of me says Lex Luger.
Lex Luger. It's not Darby Allin. I get the fact that they've been doing this whole spiel for the last couple of years, and it's been cool and everything. But the only person that Sting should be tagging up with in his last match should be Lex Luger. I'm sorry. And it definitely, without question, should not be the two greasy douchebags that came out and said, I'm going to super kick the shit out of you on Wednesday. I have no idea if that's what they said on Wednesday, because I forbid myself from watching that crap. Because I don't need to see two douchebags that came out that look like they just bought an apartment across the hall, and you know you're going to have issues with them. Never did I ever think, after all the other pictures I've seen of these guys, that they could look any more like a homosexual couple But then they showed up on Wednesday, and boy, did they prove me wrong. I cannot, and I knew it. I knew it because there was rumors that they were backstage on Dynamite on Wednesday, and they're like, "Oh, their return's going to be imminent." Of course, it's going to be tonight, and it's going to be something stupid because it's going to be the Young Bucks because they think they're this big fucking deal, and they're not because they're a bunch of fucking talentless. I've said this before, and I'll say this again. The Young Bucks are a tag team where both members of the tag team think they're Shawn Michaels when in actuality they're both Marty Jannetty. And that's a slight on Marty Jannetty.
Intercontinental champion, tag team champion,
who murders
not in the Hall of Fame yet.
Who's
above
a murderer?
The Coco Beware line and
I'm
Great Khali line and Nikolai Volkov line.
Please. Marty Jannetty is the only thing Marty Jannetty's ever going to be remembered for is you don't want to be that guy in your tag team. Unless you're the Young Bucks, where you're both that guy in the tag team. You're both Marty Jannetty. I'm pretty sure I can't fathom it, Jay. I cannot fathom that the fact that the icon, the GOAT of WCW, one of my personal favorite wrestlers, is going to waste absolutely. This is worse than Kurt Angle fighting Baron Corbin. I'm sorry, Constable Corbin. I'm sorry, Olive Garden waiter Baron Corbin at WrestleMania for his last match. This is worse than that.
Waiter Corbin was the best.
Olive Garden. Let me say that.
With the stain on the shirt was the best. I will disagree with you on that. As much as it probably coulda, shoulda been John Cena, it wasn't. I would have preferred, quite honestly, it to end up being the acclaimed, or somebody of that ilk.
FTR.
The thing is, like, hey, I can't do a singles match anymore. It's got to be a tag team match. Don't do it with the douches.
FTR doesn't have championships. They're the top guys. They're the best tag team on planet Earth, arguably. They could have had FTR. What do they benefit from fighting what does he benefit from fighting the Bucks? What do they get if they win this match? What does this do for them? There's absolutely nothing. So then these two fucking douchebags can go around saying, "Oh, we ended Sting's career." Fuck you. Somebody should have ended your career years ago. Because you guys are the most overrated tag team in the history of professional wrestling, and it's not even close. We're talking Secretariat at the Belmont Stakes. That's how close it is. They are the worst. They are the most overrated. They are the biggest bunch of freaking douchebags I've ever seen in my entire life in the history of professional wrestling. And Michael P.S. Hayes used to be a wrestler. Hulk Hogan used to be a professional wrestler. And I fucking hate these guys. I really do, Jay. They do not need this. They do not need the opportunity to wrestle Sting in his last match. I don't know what they did. They must have strong-armed him. Because we all know that Sting should be fighting the Black Scorpion for his last match. This is a bunch of this is bullshit. This should be same set of rules for everyone. And it is bothering me that the Young Bucks, who I swear I couldn't, when they had punchable faces before, very punchable faces. I saw the picture of them when I woke up yesterday morning. After they came out looking like a bunch of douchebags, they're about to frickin' bowl a 180
Oh,
in
they
bowling.
took it up like another 3 notches.
What was this? They both look like the dude from that used to be the part of the Jericho Appreciation, the Jericho Appreciation Society. The cool hand Luke or whatever the hell it was. One of those two Angelo Parker dudes. They look like the one that looks like frickin' I don't even know. They both look like douchebags. They look like huge douchebags. I don't get the appeal with these fucking guys. What is it about the Young Bucks? I don't get it. What is it? I don't get the appeal with Kenny Omega. But at least Kenny Omega looks like a wrestler from the neck down. Just don't give him a microphone. Or have him wrestle dudes with their pants down because he'll stick his fingers in their butts.
Hey, pal, maybe we should put a blue dot on his face.
I just don't understand it. Here we are, Cousin Jay, in 2024. And you've hammered on this podcast about how you loved them when they were Generation Me and they were going up against the Motor
Yeah.
City Machine Guns. And here we are in
Not the Motor
2024.
City Madmen, Motor City Machine Guns.
The Motor City Machine Guns, Chris Sabin and Alex Shelley, who I have a personal affinity towards both of them. They're fantastic stars. And I believe Chris Sabin is the only person in wrestling history to wrestle for New Japan, Impact, WWE, and AEW in the same calendar year. Which a lot of people didn't know that.
Yeah.
He teamed up with Kushida and they were Jacket Time 1.0 before him and the other guy were Jacket Time 2.0. But here we are in 2024. What are the Motor City Machine Guns doing right now, Cousin Jay?
They are goats in TNA right now.
If fresh my memory, I could be wrong. I doubt I am in this one. Isn't Alex Shelley the world heavyweight champion?
Yes, sir.
And I may be wrong, but if memory does serve me correctly, Chris Sabin is actually their X Division champion once again.
I believe that's correct.
Okay, so that's the Motor City Machine Guns of this great rivalry. And these guys, if they want to call themselves one of the top 5 tag teams, top 10 tag teams of all time, I'd say yeah. They're both talented enough. They're both great tag team competitors, and they're good as singles competitors. Then we have Generation Me, the Young Bucks, the douchebags. And what have they done? What have they done? Your stunned silence is not reassuring, Cousin Jay, that the Young Bucks have done absolutely anything other than they got CM Punk fired.
They've won tag team titles all over the place. They have created enough of a following for themselves. Like, they became millionaires off of building themselves and their brand. I will give them a lot of kudos for that. They can do this stuff in the ring. They can tell compelling stories in the ring when they want to, but their egos have gotten so big. Their douchebaggery has gotten so big. The only thing that could make it greater is if Mercedes Moné becomes part of their team.
There is nothing that those two fuckstains have done in the history of professional wrestling that is worth a blip. As far as I'm concerned, they should never be in the WWE Hall of Fame because in my mind, they are well below the fucking Great Khali Coco Beware line. They're worse than the Bushwhackers. They're like Drew Carey. In fact, that's probably the best comparison is they are the Drew Carey of the tag team division of professional wrestling. Nobody gives a shit that they're a part of it. They have done absolutely nothing to make the product any better. And their most meaningful thing they've done since they were EVPs was they let their little buddy take one for the team, who then got suspended after he got choked out by CM Punk, and now CM Punk's going to main event WrestleMania.
So, DJ Woo Kid, who was part of the entourage for Swerve Strickland, came out this week and referred to what happened between Jungle Jerkoff and CM Punk. He said that it was a brawl. He referred to it as a brawl and said that there was blood everywhere. And he said the Hawaiian-looking dude, a.k.a. Samoa Joe, was trying to cool everything down. And he was like, I thought the shit was fake. And he's like, I got more respect than I ever before, because this shit is like legit. So it sounds like it was more than just a chokeout. It sounds like maybe CM Punk
beat the shit out of him.
Maybe he punched him in the nose and said, I hated Luke Perry more than Christian Cage.
No. Nobody hates Luke Perry more than Christian Cage. Nobody hates other people's fathers more than Christian Cage.
I wonder what he would. I would like to see promos between the White Devil and Christian Cage.
That wouldn't end very well. It would just
I know. That's why I
lead,
want to see it.
it would just add fuel to the fire where Canada decides that they want to battle us in World War III. I'm just all I'm going to say.
All right.
But that's interesting. And now my question to you, to that cousin Jay, is how long until Hollywood Hulk Jericho finally butts in and says, I was hanging out with DJ Who Kid while that was happening. Yeah, him and I were drinking Grey Goose when it all went down, and CM Punk started the whole thing. If you knew what happened in that fight, you would be disgusted. They're now playing Chris Jericho's music in his segments to drown out the boos because Chris Jericho decided to go radio silent after all these accusations came out.
Yeah.
How the mighty have fallen. Boy, I can sure pick them for my Rushmore, can't I?
Right.
Because between Chris Jericho and all the lies that he fabricates and Hulk Hogan, who's came up with every lie that you could ever imagine, I have a lot of liars.
He's still working on some.
I'm still waiting for him. I can't wait.
We are now a short, very short, 11 days away from the 40th anniversary of the birth of Hulkamania. I hope he comes back on WWE TV, says something really stupid, and then does interviews after to really heighten it even bigger and higher than it already is. I thought that like a handful of years ago, he had finally given up on some of the like just outlandish stories that came out of his mouth. And then in the last 6 months, between the kid who smelled bad / when I main evented SummerSlam 92 in Wembley Stadium, and then recorded an album with Jimmy Hart that went to #1 to help the kid's family who smelled a little bit funny right before he died, and he didn't show up at SummerSlam when I was main eventing. I don't know where he was main eventing. Perhaps the bathroom.
A Foreman grill.
Perhaps. But I thought that he had like kind of gotten past all of the Hulk Hogan-ness of himself. I'm like, no. He has been strategically behind the scenes building a new set of Hogan legends that quite honestly, like the best Hollywood producer couldn't come up with this stuff.
No, not a chance.
He brought Simon Cowell to the United States 8 years before it happened.
Jay,
8 years.
Like we discussed last week, how he hung out.
Because of Hulk Hogan, you got to see King Kong Bundy lose at WrestleMania 11 to The Undertaker. Hogan was going to beat the streak at WrestleMania 3, but said, no, let's hold off. Let me slam the Giant and kill him before Little Beaver dies, and let's go forward.
Oh, Cousin Jay. Just remember, and we mentioned it last week on the podcast, Hulk Hogan hung out with John Belushi. Was it Jim Belushi or John Belushi? I always get those two mixed up. I'm sorry.
It was John Belushi.
He hung out with John Belushi in 1986, I believe it was when WrestleMania 2 happened.
Yeah, that's WrestleMania 2. I mean, John Belushi, I mean, he was only dead a few years at that point.
Weekend at Bernie's style. And was also had the same privilege of having zombie Elvis Presley show up to his wrestling matches because he was such a huge fan of Hulk Hogan.
Yeah.
And you know what's funny? The one that we never talk about is the fact that this man, honest to goodness, under oath, in front of a judge, was explain. I cannot even. If I didn't see it, I wouldn't believe it. But then again, honest to goodness, I believed for well over a decade that he tore 18 ligaments in his back when he slammed the giant. I actually believe that one. But then again, a certain someone I know who shall remain nameless, we'll just refer to him as cousin with a letter at the end of it. No, that's too obvious. It's a relative J, who once upon a time told a young brainless one that a certain professional wrestler fell through the mat in the scaffolding match that he had with Stone Cold Steve Austin.
True.
But
it happened.
But this same man, Hulk Hogan, under oath said that Hulk Hogan and Terry Bollea, not that they're two separate people, but they have two separate penis sizes. Well, you got to understand, brother. See, Hulk Hogan's penis is much bigger than Terry Bollea's penis, brother. You have to understand me. No, Hulk Hogan, that's not how physics works. If Terry Bollea is Hulk Hogan, that means that Terry Bollea is hung just as much as Hulk Hogan is. You cannot go out there and tell people, and especially a judge under oath, hand on the Bible, that Hulk Hogan had a bigger penis than Terry Bollea. That's just as bad, as my opinion, as 400 days in a year of wrestling. This is just as bad as when he lied to The Undertaker and said he fucked up his neck on the Tombstone Piledriver, that his head didn't even come within 2 inches of hitting the mat on.
Brother. And then when Undertaker saw it, and he's like going, wait a second. And then Hogan's like, you squeeze too tight with your thighs, brother. The MetLife Center, brother.
Jay, I'm telling you right now, that is the only thing that can
Silverdome, brother.
That's the only thing. The Superdome, brother. That really is.
You know what? I think I might need to watch WrestleMania 30 tonight. At least the first half hour.
Oh, that's worth it right there. All I'm going to say right now in regards to Bucky Beaver keeping mark-out moment of the year, I am going to wait until Hulk Hogan makes an appearance on the WWE television, because God only knows whatever comes out of his mouth is going to be worthy enough to possibly knock out the builder of the dams for mark-out moment of the year.
And the replacement for the builder of the dams, who apparently is not a certified dam builder, has actually come from ESPN. So part of me actually is pretty, I think this is great, because we may have gotten a Kevin Dunn acolyte if they hired from within. The shaky cam, the thought, zooming in and out, tilting up and down, panning left or right was a good thing. This dude from ESPN ain't gonna play that. Nope. He'll be like, what the F is this? Can we concentrate on what's going on? The important people we have coming to the ring, not Joe Blow, who's picking his nose in the audience, right?
Exactly. And I'll tell you right now, this new executive for ESPN, I wouldn't be surprised if WWE had more of a combat sports feel to the presentation on Raw, NXT, and SmackDown going forward. Because I know that's one of the things that they had mentioned on a lot of different shows, and a lot of different pages have been talking about how WWE is going to format their show going forward now that Bucky Beaver is no longer there and he's off in the Hoover Dam, and hopefully somebody threw him off. But I'm excited because I think this is a good get. I had a feeling that somebody from ESPN, because for whatever reason, the two biggest companies in the state of Connecticut like to work with each other. That's why we've seen people like Charlie Caruso make the jump and Jonathan Coachman make the jump. And we've seen people like,
Pat McAfee.
Pat McAfee make the jump and everything. And
shit, man.
They like to and obviously we've seen it a lot because there's a lot more stories from WWE that get promoted in the headlines for ESPN, and I think that's great because I really do think I've said this for decades that they should be in cahoots with each other because I think that ESPN and WWE could definitely benefit from each other. But bringing in one of those people with the presentation, there's going to be some changes. They're probably like, okay, this is how we want it, but we want you to put your kind of a twist on it to give the presentation more of like a combat sports type. And I think that's the route they're going to go.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm excited because number one, I really, really am. I'm gonna miss the shaky cameras, cousin Jay. I'm really gonna miss seeing little Tiffany in the 19th row as
he's gonna puke. As
Gorilla Monsoon has rose from the dead and makes his way to the ring. I'm so glad that we're no longer going to see the person in the 12th row eating nachos as it happens.
I hope at WrestleMania they I'm probably too far away, but I hope that they get a shot of me eating nachos.
I didn't even think
while I'm stealing back the gold belt from Gritty and beating the crap out of him, Ace Ventura style with the Philadelphia Eagles mascot.
Fuck the Eagles. I didn't even think of this stuff. Hulk Hogan's going to be at WrestleMania this year.
Brother.
He's going to go out there. He's going to go out to the link. He's going to cut a promo. And then he's going to do exactly what Hulk Hogan is going to do. Well, it's one of two things, I should say. Because he's either going to botch wherever he is. Oh, here at the vet, brother. Where the fans threw snowballs at Santa Claus.
Shea Stadium. I think it's going to be Shea Stadium because he never wrestled a match at Veterans Stadium, but he did have one at Shea Stadium. And that's close enough for Hulk Hogan, logic, close enough for his belief in the world and everything that goes on. The fact that he is in the multiverse and his brain's just scrambled. He wrestled 400 days in a year.
Jay, he's going to be in Philadelphia and he's going to mention to everybody how he was the main star of Rocky III. And that he was originally he's going to tell people that he was originally supposed to be Clubber Lang, but gave it to Mr. T so that he can team up with him at WrestleMania 1, brother.
That's 100% the truth. And actually, originally they were going to cast him as Rocky Balboa. But I heard that he actually got a telephone call from Elvis. And he needed to take that. And, he missed out on getting Rocky. And they're like, you know what? We got this unknown guy, Sylvester Stallone, be Rocky. But we think you would fit the bill. Later on, we're not going to put you in the first movie. We're not going to put you in the second movie. You're going to fit the bill as Thunder Lips.
I will argue this fact for the rest of my life. It will be the last thing that comes out of when I take my last breath. Thunder Lips was a better wrestler than Hulk Hogan.
Is that going to be on your gravestone?
No, I think we all know what's going to be on my tombstone. Yeah?
Yeah? That sounds fantastic.
It's on my shirt, for crying out loud.
Yeah?
Gotta be on my tombstone. Yeah?
That's an original.
That and fuck
Before
the
the Yeah shirt happened, the Yeah shirt happened.
And fuck the Jets.
Yeah? So you did mention Jericho. Mention the fact that they did play Judas during his entire segment to drown out the boos. Well, we heard a little bit ago about kind of a scuffle that Jericho had with MVP, and Jericho more or less saying, he doesn't talk with jobbers or doesn't deal with jobbers or doesn't fight with jobbers. It came out this week that not only did Jericho have a scuffle with a jobber or a fight with a jobber, he got his ass knocked out on his own damn cruise by said jobber.
But it wasn't a jobber, cousin Jim.
Former U.S. champion, former manager of the Hurt Business, MVP, knocked his ass out. I, for most of his career, have been a lover of Chris Jericho. Chris Jericho has taken on a lot of Young Bucks attributes in his AEW time. My love for him has lessened an awful lot. If the things that are accused of him have happened, I'm done with him.
I heard years ago that he had an arrangement with his wife that when he was out on the road, whether he was in WWE or when he was out doing the Fozzy shit, that he had permission from his wife to do unmentionable things to other women. He says that's the reason why we've been together for so long, because she understands what I'm going through. Now, it's we're either at the point right now where Chris Jericho is a scumbag or Chris Jericho is Hulk Hogan. And it's kind of two in the same. Because as I've gotten older, Hulk Hogan's another one that I've lost a lot of respect for over the years. And Chris Jericho, with a lot of these accusations that they have against him, and it just seems like all these other attributes. And I think that comparing him to the Young Bucks was a very fair assessment. Because just like the Young Bucks, he's so far up Tony Khan's ass that when Tony Khan is snorting coke, it's going into Jericho's head.
Yeah.
I don't know what something needs to come of this, because I remember when Kylie Ray was in AEW and it looked like she was going to be part of the future, and then she abruptly left, and it was just like, okay, what the hell happened? She didn't want to talk about it. There was no discussions. Then it comes out that Jericho was, invited her to her hotel room where she was thinking that a whole bunch of other people were going to be there. And it was just him, probably in all of his glory. But Jericho there needs to be some kind of, this needs to get brought to light. You can't just keep sweeping shit under the rug and expecting it to go away. There's a problem. There's a reason why you were playing his music while he was in the ring, so he wouldn't get booed. This is not good. This is not good for Tony Khan. Eventually, at some point, Shad Khan's got to be like, what the fuck is going on here? Because even if it's not, he's part of running this or owner of this or any of this, and it's just all Tony, his name is still attached to whatever his son does. Tony Khan needs to fix this. He needs to right the ship. He needs to spend less time over whether or not Jinder Mahal is becoming WWE or a number one contender for a WWE World Championship, and spend more time trying to get his locker room in order. When you got shit like this where Chris Jericho has all these accusations and we're supposed to take you seriously during the presser when you're wearing a wig and a giant pair of sunglasses, and you just avoid the problems, I was scared for my life is the reason why you fired CM Punk? Because we're hearing different, conflicting stories from Chris Jericho and DJ Woo Kid. And I'll take the word of DJ Woo Kid over Chris Jericho right now. He has no reason to lie. Like we gave the award about a couple of weeks ago. He ain't got the lie to kick it, and he knows that. When Cousin Chris's wife finally comes out and she tells her side of the story, and I really hope that she's on Jericho or on Cornette's podcast when she does it, or she can come on here. I would love to ask Cousin Chris's wife a lot of questions. First of all, how dare you keeping my cousin away from me, Annie Elizabeth, keeping my cousin Chris away from us? Some bullshit. I will reach out to Cousin Chris and see if it's okay with him if you and I can have a discussion with our Cousin Chris's wife, Annie. I think. Junebug.
Something like that.
$50 on Junebug to win.
Yeah.
It's the same name as my cat. But anyway, Chris Jericho, I didn't think it was possible because I always said that Chris Jericho was the second person I would put in my Rushmore if I was actually putting the heads on my Rushmore. And now it's looking like a point where he's going to be booted out just as quickly as Hulk Hogan is. We need clarification. We need to know this stuff. Tony Khan, you got to stop being a little bitch and you got to just own up to this stuff. You need to talk about this. We don't want to find out about this during season 7 of Dark Side of the Ring.
When Chris Jericho is narrating his own Dark Side of the Ring episode.
That's going to be great. That's what I want. I want the Chris Jericho episode of Dark Side of the Ring just to be nothing but Chris Jericho. It's just Chris Jericho talking about Chris Jericho while Chris Jericho narrates the entire show. And all we get is the shot of Jim Cornette where it just shows his name and he's swinging the racket. That's all I need for that episode for Chris Jericho. And that's another person that can get their episode, a Hulk Hogan episode of Dark Side of the Ring. Hell, you could probably dedicate like 5 seasons worth of material just for the lives of Hulk Hogan. That's it. I'm going to contact the Dark Side of the Ring people after this episode, and I'm going to tell them you need to do the Dark Lives of Hulk Hogan for Dark Side of the Ring. And Chris Jericho.
The time when the Hebner brother had all the money falling out of his pocket.
It was to him.
How much money for the plastic surgery? How much money? I saw the $100 bills coming out of his pocket.
And we say Shawn Michaels at 2005 SummerSlam oversold. A coked out Hulk Hogan.
Greatest sell jobs ever. Shawn Michaels, 2005 SummerSlam. Hulk Hogan selling the fact that the Hebner brother got plastic surgery and took hundreds of dollars, if not thousands of dollars, from $1 Million Man Ted DiBiase and Sid Vicious after Goldberg had flattened his car.
Goldberg! Goldberg! No bullshit, Jay. It pops up in my algorithm on Instagram at least every other week. And every time it's on there, I laugh my ass off every single time. Because it's so good. I really do. I feel like I have been disrespecting Sid Justice, Sid Vicious, Psycho Sid.
Yes.
Softball Sid for all these years. Because, man, what a performance that was. Or the fact that he tried to do a retake in the middle of a live shoot.
You got that. The fact that he threw Hulk Hogan out of the ring during the Royal Rumble. And it's like, hey, there are no friends here. We're all going for the WWF Championship. Is Sid supposed to throw himself out of the ring, finger poke a doom himself before the finger poke a doom? No. Even Vince McMahon isn't that stupid.
Finding out last week that the finger poke of doom was what WCW was altering to Mick Foley winning the WWE Championship was a bigger buzzkill than me finding out that I missed The Undertaker's debut at Survivor Series 1990 because I made myself sick from excitement. When you're going to sit there and
hear like a good story about
a bridge.
Jessica, welcome back.
Welcome back. Welcome back.
So, a lot of the talk going around has been that WWE for Home for Monday Night Raw might end up finding one of the, like FXX, ESPN, something affiliated with ABC, Disney Corporation, all that. This week, though, it's come out where it sounds like the actual front runner at this moment. I don't think it's the greatest idea, but I could be wrong. Sounds like it's Amazon Prime. I have Prime. I'm okay with it ending up on Amazon Prime because I could watch it if I want to. But it sounds like because Amazon Prime could cater to a younger audience, and whatever money they're offering, I'm sure it's probably something close to what other places are offering. But hey, Amazon Prime is a home for Monday Night Raw. What do you think about that?
I think it's stupid. And I'll tell you why. And it's a very reasonable explanation. And I'm going to use the NFL as my example for this. This weekend, we have 6 playoff games. 3 in the AFC, 3 in the NFC. We have 2 games tomorrow, 3 games Sunday, and 1 game on Monday night. That's when the shitty fucking Eagles play is Monday night. Against Baker and the Bucks. Tomorrow's
Baker and the Bucks.
Not as good as when we do Hangman with the Jets and the Bucks. Hangman and the Bucks. Hangman. That's the only time I ever want to talk about the Bucks in a not negative light. But tomorrow night's Dolphins-Chiefs game. There's a lot of is on Peacock exclusively. The first game at 4:30 between Cleveland and Houston. I'm not going to get into that. I think it's going to be a great game, personally. But
boys.
The first game is going to be on NBC and Peacock, but the second game is exclusively on Peacock. And all the Chiefs and Dolphins fans and a lot of other casual NFL fans teams like ours who were eliminated last week or many weeks ago, like mine was.
Half a season ago for me.
We were eliminated week 1, Jay. Losing 40-0 to Dallas in the first game of the season was enough for me.
You got Daniel Jones as your starting quarterback in week 1, so yeah.
If we had Tommy Cutlets starting week 1, we would have been 12-5. Anyway, a lot of fans are upset because it's on Peacock, and they're like, why am I going to pay $6 to watch this shit? Now, mind you, I don't really care. I'm going to watch it tomorrow because I already have Peacock. Because like I say about the WWE and all this other stuff, I'm still going to get Peacock, and I'm still going to pay the $5 or $6. I think it's $6 now.
Yeah.
Oh, excuse me. I'm going to pay the $6 a month because, I do remember a time where I was paying $40, $50, $60 for a WWE pay-per-view. Now I pay $60 basically for the entire year, and I get all of them. And on top of that, and on top of that, I get my fill of Ronald Ulysses Swanson and Chris Traeger, which is Parks and Rec is literally one of my favorite shows ever. Literally.
And Dwight Schrute.
And I'm gonna have to check out Brooklyn Nine-Nine. I've heard a lot of great things, and I've seen a couple episodes, and I think Andy Samberg is hilarious. Makes me think of that time that you and I got the free passes to see him in that what was it, Rockstar movie? That shit was so freaking funny. I laughed my ass off. That was a much better movie than I thought it was gonna be.
Right.
But a lot of people are upset about it. You're gonna do the same thing with wrestling fans if you're gonna have them pay, because a lot of them are not like you and I who have other reasons to have Peacock because, there's other alternatives on there. People only pay the $6 just to get the pay-per-views and all the WWE content. So now what you're going to do is you're going to have them go to Amazon now to watch Raw and pay another amount of money. That's silly. Especially when all these people are talking about how they don't have money for this shit. So now you're going to expect them to spend more money than what they already are? If by chance this leads to WWE all going exclusively to Amazon, that would be one thing. if Raw, SmackDown, NXT, all the content was all part of Amazon Prime, and it's like, okay, instead of paying $15 for Prime, you get $20 a month. You have to pay for Prime, but you get the Prime shipping, and you get all the WWE access, and you get the Thursday night football games now. You give them an extra incentive. Adding a second streaming service to WWE fans who are already paying money for the WWE Peacock network, it's not, especially because a lot of them don't have it. I don't even have an actual Prime account. I married into a Prime account. So yes, I can watch it. It's not an issue for me. And I know it's not an issue for you, but you're talking about the fans who are already crying about spending $5-6 a month for the Peacock. And now you're going to move Raw to a different streaming service that's going to cost them money? I think it's stupid. Yeah. I'm sorry. I just think it's not efficient. If it was a situation where all of the stuff from WWE was moving to Amazon Prime, yes, I would understand this. But no, now you're asking people to pick up a second streaming service to watch your 3-hour show that people already hate watching.
Tim said, Ann Perkins.
Ann Perkins.
Ann Perkins.
Ann Perkins. I watched the episode where they did the burger that's one of my I love that episode where they do the burger contest when he's at Food and Grain.
And Ron puts absolutely nothing on the burger. He just
Here's a burger.
This is so delicately and just it's well balanced and it's great. Aren't you going to put anything on your burger, Ron? Nope.
Here's a burger made out of meat on a bun. Here's ketchup if you need it. I could care less.
So WWE wanting to partner with possibly Amazon Prime, okay, that's something. Another thing is they possibly want to partner with one of the big promotions in Japan. Now, clearly, Japan, you've got New Japan Pro Wrestling that has a relationship with AEW. If they felt they could make themselves bigger and have a better partnership with WWE, they would throw Tony Khan out with yesterday's garbage and yesterday's cocaine.
They would eliminate that faster than the Jaguars eliminated themselves from the playoffs last week.
Remember when the Jaguars put playoff tickets for sale?
Remember when they had the player for the Jaguars grab the terrible towel and disrespect it, and then the Jaguars got eliminated, the Steelers ended up making the playoffs with Tomlinson?
Romneys are not going to fire Tomlinson.
I laughed my ass off when Houston won that game last Saturday. It was my favorite part about last weekend. Not even the fact that the Giants beat the Eagles in the last game of the season, which was literally my favorite win of the Giants have had in the last decade. But the Jaguars getting eliminated and losing a game that they controlled their own destiny at home to the Texans.
Right.
And then Tony Khan went out there and tried to hinder the Jinder.
I mean, it all makes sense. He was very frustrated. His Coke dealer was late with the delivery. and the Jinder, just like it got under his skin that somebody could somehow get popular, be over enough with the audience because somebody else showed up that wasn't making a big announcement, but kind of was making a big announcement.
The Jinder segment on Raw this week outdrew Dynamite, Rampage, and Collision combined.
Tony Khan made a star.
Megastar.
Yeah.
Speaking of megastars, do you know that WWE now has a new person as the number one selling t-shirt on their website?
Yeah?
Do you want to take a guess who is now the number one selling T-shirt seller in WWE?
I'm going to guess it's CM Punk.
Oh no. In a 24-hour span, there is a new man who, unlike in 2011, he beat CM Punk.
Yeah?
R-Truth now has the number one selling shirt, the new Judgment Day shirt that has all their names with the taped on piece of R-Truth at the bottom, is now the number one selling shirt on the WWE shop.
It should be.
Effin Mark's Hall of Famer R-Truth. What's up? I think it's great that he is the number one seller. I love that man. He's one of my favorite wrestlers. And I just took him off the thing, and now he's not going to go back on, so he's going to stay up here.
Okay.
But I think that's good because you know what that means, Cousin Jay. Because once you become the number one seller in shirts, you get a title match. CM Punk had the number one selling shirt. He's now rumored to win the Royal Rumble. LA Knight had the number one selling. He was the number one merch guy.
Yeah.
And he got a shot in Saudi Arabia. And not only that, we'll get into this in a minute, he's got another title shot coming up.
Yeah.
So this can only mean great things for the Effin Marks Hall of Famer. I'm honestly good at this. On a real serious note, I really am happy for R-Truth. That man has taken a lot of shit and turned it into something really good. He has been one of the most entertaining people because at the end of the day, I like good wrestling and I also like to be entertained. And R-Truth is one of the few people out there that actually gives me both. The ageless wonder himself. He is when you look up the definition of a treasure in the dictionary, there's a picture of R-Truth next to that.
Right next to Robbie Raw.
Right.
Yeah.
No. Robbie Ross is about as much of a treasure as the Young Bucks are a great tag team. Which is not happening. But good for R-Truth, man. I really am. Every time something good happens for R-Truth, I feel really good about everything because R-Truth deserves nothing but great things to happen. The greatest 24/7, 365, I-95, 7-Eleven, Kentucky, Mass Pike, television European champion of all time.
Yes.
But I did mention that another former number one seller in T-shirts was getting a title shot, and that is one LA Knight.
Yeah?
Because last Friday on SmackDown, they did a triple threat match between Rip to Shit Randy Orton, Rip to Shit AJ Styles, and Rip to Shit LA Knight. And the winner was going to fight Roman Reigns at the Royal Rumble. Well, what ended up happening was we got a fucked finish. I swear, was Vince Russo booking the main event last week for SmackDown? So instead of getting a one-on-one match for the Royal Rumble, we're getting a fatal four-way. Can you tell me, first of all, what are your thoughts about Roman Reigns defending the title in a fatal four-way match? And I also would like to know, what is the biggest flaw in them booking a fatal four-way for the title at Royal Rumble?
What I really don't love about it is I understand you don't want to pin Randy Orton this early in his return. I understand that. AJ Styles just came back. He probably shouldn't be taking a pin either. Which means that LA Knight, is the one taking the pin. The fact that he is going to be part of the main event of Royal Rumble, good for him. He took a pitch black match from last year, Bray Wyatt, in his returning match on television, and he yabbed himself for a full year into the main event. Good for him. He deserves good things.
I'm convinced he's going to be the one that beats Logan Paul at WrestleMania for the U.S. Championship.
But so what we have here, you could possibly have Roman lose the title, set up the match with Rock so there isn't a title on the line at WrestleMania. I honestly don't like that idea. Roman losing the title without actually getting pinned feels really cheap after the reign, if you will, that he's had. I think it would be really dumb booking, like on Tony Khan level, on Vince McMahon, on his like, well, I've just decided to change my mind day. Roman Reigns needs to be pinned to lose the title.
I agree.
There's no other way to put it. If they do it any other way, it's wrong. So Roman needs to win this match. Not only does he need to win this match, I'm going to still stand firm with my booking of what should happen between him and The Rock. Title is not on the line. I want the title of Tribal Chief. That's all I give a shit about. Now, that poses a little bit of a problem, I guess, with you get a Royal Rumble winner, they get to choose who they want to go against. I've seen a couple of things bandied about ways around this. You could have Randy Orton win the title and actually pin Roman Reigns in the Fatal 4-Way match. I don't think there'd be a lot of people upset if Randy Orton was the one to end the title reign. It would feel a little bit cheap that it wasn't a one-on-one match, but people wouldn't be upset. And then you could have Roman go on and go against The Rock without there being a title there to deal with. Then you could have Cody win the Rumble, and Cody decides he wants to take on Randy to try to finish the story. Because he won't want to take on Seth, because winning that title is not the same as trying to win the title that his dad had in his hands. It's not the same lineage. There are things that they could do with that, but I would put my money on it right now. Roman Reigns is going to win that match, and I don't know what they're going to do beyond that, but
it's crazy to me to think that when I heard it was going to be a Fatal 4-Way instead of just a one-on-one match that we were promised between Randy Orton and Roman Reigns, was that they're bringing in LA Knight to eat the pinfall. Because like you said, AJ Styles just came back not too long ago as well, and it would be foolish for him to come back just to eat a pinfall that quickly. My biggest issue with them doing the Fatal 4-Way match is that what is the one constant thing about multi-men matches like this, or multi-people matches like this, when you have triple threats, Fatal 4-Ways, six-pack challenges, 10-man battles, what's the one constant thing?
Screwy stuff goes on.
There is no disqualification and there's no countout. And we all know that there's no disqualification in a match that Roman Reigns is going to be a part of where the title's on the line. We already know that No Yeet, Jimmy Uso, and the future tribal chief of the head of the table, Solo, are going to get involved. My theory is, and once we get to I think it's next week, if I'm not mistaken.
This guy sucks. Oh, wait, no, 2 weeks away. 2 weeks away.
I have a theory that when we do our predictions in a couple weeks, that, and I'll give you a spoiler alert, I have a feeling that when LA Knight does get pinned, AJ Styles is the one that knocks him out and Roman takes the win. Because that's the only way that you're going to save it, where LA Knight can still kind of look strong. You build up a storyline heading down the line after the Royal Rumble, heading to WrestleMania with Styles and LA Knight. And you keep Randy looking good because he didn't eat the pinfall. That's the only win-win-win-win-win situation that they have in this entire situation. I just think it's silly because if that was the case, then why book it? And they're not going to have Randy Orton win in a fatal four-way match if they could have just had him winning on a one-on-one match.
Now, Tim has put in chat an interesting possible wrinkle you could put into this. What if The Rock comes and fucks Roman over? Now, that would be very heel-like. That would be Hulk Hogan face-like, I guess.
No, there's a way to save this where he still looks like a good guy. Because if Jimmy and Solo are out there and they're like hammering on Randy Orton and he's getting his ass kicked, and then and then Jey Uso comes out to even odds, and then The Rock comes out. And you have that stare down where you have Jimmy and Solo and Roman on one side and The Rock and Jay on the other side coming for the save. Are you kidding me? And then they kind of beat up Roman Reigns. Yes, you're probably going to end up having where Roman doesn't figure into the equation, but Randy Orton RKO's Roman Reigns after The Rock fends off Solo and Jimmy. He gets distracted, turns around, boom, RKO 1, 2, 3. I personally just don't want to see it. I'd rather see Randy Orton versus Roman Reigns in a one-on-one match. I get the fact that you don't want him to do it. Seth Rollins wrestled Roman Reigns for the title at the Royal Rumble, and Roman still looked strong, and he didn't lose the title.
Right.
Roman Reigns won a match that he shouldn't have won because he got stuck because he got handcuffed to the post, and they had to unhinge him. I would have been a lot more upset, but it was against Captain Cupcake, and that fat fuck didn't deserve to win the title anyway.
I'll get to Captain Cupcake in a moment. Chris Brown saying, it's being said that there may not be a Dwayne versus Roman match at Elimination Chamber. As of now, he's not being advertised for the PLE, and Australia wants Dwayne there. All that being said, they could want The Rock all they want. They could offer all the money that they want to The Rock. Rock knows that the signature event, the marquee event, is WrestleMania. Why would he do the biggest match he could possibly do at something less than WrestleMania? In my view, it doesn't make any sense unless there was going to be a follow-up to that.
Unless it was SummerSlam. I think because they keep touting that it's the WrestleMania of the summer. I think that if they gave him enough money, and depending on if it was in Hollywood or Miami, I think he would do SummerSlam. Other than that, yes, I agree. He's not going to want to do anything other than WrestleMania. But and for me, it's already going to be painful enough because there's no way in fucking hell I'm waking up at 4:30 in the morning to watch WWE again. I did that once. I'm not going to be scrounging around Newport News trying to find a 7-Eleven that will sell me a 40 at 4 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
I'm not doing this, and I don't think The Rock thinks that the fans the people are not going to be smelling what The Rock is cooking at 4 o'clock in the morning. Because they're not going to know what the hell's going on.
I like taquitos, man.
I like taquitos and shit. And I'll take Cool Ranch Doritos and pour the chili and cheese on it for the hot dogs and shit. Yeah?
All right, Jessica's saying she does see Roman losing the belt soon. Okay. Tim saying, what about Cody, Jey Uso, and The Rock versus Roman, Jimmy, and Solo at Elimination Chamber? I could buy that.
I'd be on board with that.
Yep.
Give me all the main event Jey Uso and the main event Jimmy Uso you can. I can't get enough of the Usos. They're part of my favorite reason in WWE, and they're going to get a lot of consideration as one of my favorite tag teams of all time.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah?
I believe I remember you saying the name Kevin Owens.
No, you were wrong, Cousin Jay. I had said the name Captain Cupcake. I would never call him by his official WWE.
I apologize by not going by his real name, Captain Cupcake.
Thank you. It's fine. It is fine, Cousin Jay. You can call him Kevin Owens. You can call him Potato. I'll call him Captain Cupcake.
Grayson Waller slowly but surely is inching his way up into one of my favorite current heels. He keeps working his way up that list. This week, he referred to Nebraska as the worst. The worst! He said he thought it was something fake, and then he finally showed up there, and he was like, as much as I really hate Chicago, at least there's some history there. Nebraska just sucks, more or less. And then he was on, I think he was on NXT, and he had some interactions with folks, ended up getting punched out by Kevin Owens. I'm sorry, Captain Cupcake. Then he went to talk about how poorly Shawn Michaels runs the ship and that he felt scared for his life. I was like, the troll job on Tony Khan right there. I'm a Grayson Waller fan.
Jay, I've been on the Grayson
Waller fan.
I've been on the Grayson Waller bandwagon since he said that Taylor Swift, he doesn't understand the hysteria around Taylor Swift because she's nothing more than a 6. Yeah. And it's like, how are you going to do that? They're going to show up at WWE shows with pitchforks and flames. Pitchforks and torches.
Yes.
Yeah, Grayson Waller is fantastic. I hated him in NXT. Man, I'm enjoying his work on the main roster. He makes the freaking douche canoe with the freaking stupid face look a little bit more manageable because he's his tag team partner.
Yeah.
And I'm still convinced of those.
Theory.
This guy stinks. And if they don't do the Rock and Austin, I'm sorry. Woo! If they don't do the Rock and Roman at WrestleMania this year, the Rock's teaming up with John Cena to take on Grayson Waller and the Theory fucker. El Jefe's favorite wrestler.
Yes. I have a theory.
This guy stinks.
So Matt Riddle, who has been making appearances in independent wrestling promotions, came out and did some interviews where he made 2 allegations. One was he was supposed to win the Royal Rumble. The other was that he was supposed to win Money in the Bank, and it was changed just a mere couple hours before he was supposed to win it. On the Hogan meter, 5 Hogans being, not telling the truth, to one where, he like, just kind of having a moment where he doesn't remember that he's in New Orleans instead of Detroit.
Right.
What level of Hogan's would you put these comments from Matt Riddle?
Honestly, the Royal Rumble claims that he made sounds pretty freaking accurate because he said I was scheduled to win the Royal Rumble and then Brock Lesnar ended up losing to Bobby Lashley. He got pissed off and said, I'm winning the Rumble and you're not going to stop Brock Lesnar. Well, that seems a lot more accurate for a story than it is that freaking Shane McMahon was supposed to win it. Who absolutely eviscerated the Royal Rumble so bad and pissed off everybody to the point where he got fired, came back and blew out his quads. So I actually I'll give him the benefit of the doubt if it wasn't for the fact that he was a stoner. Because as far as I'm concerned, I've been smoking pot, for 20 some odd years at this point, I think. I don't even remember. Smoked so much pot, I don't remember. But I'm pretty sure that I was supposed to win the Royal Rumble one year. I know every year you point at the side and announce yourself for the Royal Rumble.
I have put myself in the Rumble.
So I honestly want to give him the benefit of the doubt on the Rumble because it sounds the most accurate. I'm just sure he's like, I was supposed to win the Money in the Bank, bro. That I find a little bit less likely. If he had just said the Royal Rumble, it's probably a lot more believable. But the fact that you're going to say both of them, yeah, I don't know. I don't buy it. You're about a 3.5 on the Hogan meter.
Do you think Brock Lesnar has enough stroke where if Vince McMahon made up his mind that he wanted somebody to win, that Brock Lesnar could change Vince McMahon's mind? In my mind, I'm saying no. I don't think so. Now, as much as I think Vince wants to keep Brock happy,
Yep.
and I'm sure Brock holds some sway, if Vince wanted Matt Riddle to win, Matt Riddle would have won. But, like, Riddle at that point had already pissed off Goldberg. He had pissed off Brock. He had pissed off a whole bunch of other people behind the scenes. Vince was probably tacitly like going, you know what? He's kind of got something. I mean, he's difficult to deal with. Oh, by the way, immature is all hell. He's, in his 30s going on 14. I don't know if Brock has enough stroke to actually, I don't want him to win. He's not going to win. If he wins, I leave the company. And Vince would be like, oh, okay, Brock. I could, quite honestly, the Money in the Bank thing makes a little more, it sounds like typical Vince booking. Last second, I changed my mind. Brock may have said something to Vince. Vince could have told him to go F off. We're talking about the same Vince McMahon who, after Brock Lesnar threw the WWE Championship at him, told him, asshole. Vince will stand up to Brock and doesn't give two shits if he gets his old ass kicked.
See, that's where you and I differentiate on. I believe that is the actual case with Brock Lesnar because who the fuck's going to tell him no? Who's going to tell Brock Lesnar? Yeah. Imagine they're like, all right, Brock wants to win the Royal Rumble, Jay. Can you go tell him that he's not going to win the Royal Rumble?
Well, if he wanted to go into business for himself, he could do that, but Vince could fire him the next moment and say, yeah, Brock won the Rumble, but, oh, by the way, he's fired. He's fired from the company.
Yeah, I could see Brock Lesnar has enough to say because it's Brock Lesnar. Anybody else, I would say, no, that's kind of a fishy story. No, it sounds too believable to actually be believable. So I'm going to say that it's very likely because who's going to tell Brock Lesnar, fuck you? I'd rather go watch I'd rather go watch Kenny Omega fight the blow up doll again than have to tell Brock Lesnar to fuck himself.
Or put fingers up somebody's butt.
Ooh! Since we are on the topic of people who have alienated themselves from locker rooms, I was actually approached earlier today by F and Mark's Hall of Famer Chris Brown about a topic that he wanted to discuss on the podcast.
All right.
And he had said to me, he had asked me, he goes, why has CM Punk been brought back to WWE with open arms when people like Enzo and the Velveteen Dream have not had that opportunity? Do you think that there is a double standard to this? And why that is that Punk can get brought back after all the stuff that happened, and the other two have not been as fortunate considering the fact that the charges that they had against them have, for the most part, been dropped? If I worded that incorrectly, I apologize, Chris Brown. If you want to go and unbrainless that to Cousin Jay, but it was just the gist of it was...
No. I think I got the general vibe. Do you want to answer first, or shall I?
Look, I enjoyed Enzo Amore as a character. One of my favorites. He was the best part about the Cruiserweight division. He was the Cruiserweight champion. He beat the Keebler Elf for the title. Pissed him off to the point where now
I just want to pause you for 1 second. Breaking news, the hollowed out tree will be one elf short coming up. Pac
Oh,
is returning to AEW. Carry on.
I enjoyed Enzo. I was pissed off when they broke up him and Big Cass because I enjoyed them as a tag team. I thought they should have been tag team champions. Enzo Amore got into some issues where he had some accusations against him. And instead of actually doing the right thing and nipping it in the bud and saying, hey, I have these issues coming on, just to let you guys know they're a bunch of bullshit. No, he tried to do the Tony Khan thing and tried to sweep it under the rug and pretend like it didn't happen. Well, WWE found out about these accusations, and what did they do? They fired him. And not just because of the accusations, he was very difficult to work with. And he was kind of an asshole. Velveteen Dream is the same situation. Yes, he had all these accusations against him. He was still high off coke. Now, I understand that that's saying a lot because of the fact that guys like Hulk Hogan and Roddy Piper and Randy Savage and obviously the Ultimate Warrior, and let's not forget Michael P.S. Hayes, who have all done a whole bunch of coke over the years. Well, Velveteen Dream, Iron Sheik. Velveteen Dream just really was not very well liked backstage. He had all these issues. He came out in the Me Movement thing. I know those allegations were proven to be false. Too, yeah. The Me Too thing. But the fact is he just kept getting into trouble. And they tried bringing him back onto TV, but the fans tormented him. I hate to say it, but a lot of times the fans will have an influence. I mean, we're seeing it right now. Chris Jericho has these accusations. There's no truth. I mean, there may be truth to it. There may not be truth to it, but it hasn't come out. And yet here we are. They're playing his music through his segments to drain out the booing. What CM Punk did and what the other two did are two completely different situations. Yes, CM Punk walked out of the company. Yes, he went on to Colt Cabana's podcast and talked all sorts of shit. But at the end of the day, who doesn't do shit like that? If you have a bad, whether you leave a relationship or a job or you lose a friend or whatever it is, a lot of times you're not going to speak very highly of those people. And you're going to go off and you're going to say these things. It's happened. It's human nature. Plus, at the end of the day, nothing against Enzo Amore and nothing against Patrick Clark, the Velveteen Dream. Neither one of them is CM Punk. Enzo Amore, as entertaining as he was, and Velveteen Dream, who had a bunch of great matches down at NXT, a lot of fun to watch. Him and Ricochet had a really, really good rivalry down there, and I adored that because Ricochet really got a chance to showcase himself in that rivalry regardless. Neither one of them, in the grand scheme of things, is CM Punk. Because at the end of the day, CM Punk is a draw. CM Punk's going to put butts in the seats. People were chanting for CM Punk for 9 years while he was gone from WWE, and he came back. They don't chant for Enzo Amore or the Velveteen Dream. At the end of the day, Punk's going to have a little bit more of a leeway when it regards to a relationship rekindling with WWE because of the fact that he is a draw, and what he has done is not nearly as bad as what the other two had done.
Are alleged against them.
Alleged
and one
against
thing
them.
I think I would pick up on with Velveteen Dream and Enzo Amore. Just because charges are dropped does not mean you didn't do the thing that you were accused of. That just means charges were dropped.
Yes.
Now, WWE with Velveteen Dream, it felt like the investigation they did against him.
Yeah.
I don't think they did a lot of real vetting of that, or whatever vetting they did, they were probably told by lawyers, it's not a good idea if you fire him straight out.
Right.
Suspend him for a bit, take him off TV for a bit, bring him back. And when he came back, he was never the same. And I'd like to think the stuff accused of him was not what happened. I'd like to believe that. I don't know. All that being said, like you said, not the draw that CM Punk is. You walk by him today in the streets, I'd say 999,000 out of 10,000 wouldn't know who the hell he is. CM Punk goes by in the street, you might know who he is. I don't like the way he left the company. I don't like how he got out of AEW. Don't like either of them. Don't like the way he's conducted business. I think he's bad for business. I think the other two are worse for business. And I'm not one of these people that would like to convict somebody based off accusations. But it's not like there was one accusation against both of them. There were multiple things brought up about both of them, and both of them were known to be pain in the asses behind the scenes. Yep. So that's multiple strikes. Similar to Matt Riddle, who talented as all heck, had gotten over to a certain extent with the audience, pissed off a whole bunch of people behind the scenes with how he acted and how he was. And oh, by the way, just sitting there trying to come up with excuses by, oh, well, Brock Lesnar's the one who stopped me from winning the Royal Rumble. Oh, they changed their mind about winning at Money in the Bank. You know what? If you had gotten yourself over to whatever extent, Vince McMahon has clearly shown he's willing to overlook just about any flaw if you're going to win him money. He paid money to get Jimmy Snuka off of murder.
He brought back Matt and Jeff Hardy after all their issues with drugs over the years.
So, Matt Riddle, your stuff is self-imposed. You brought it on yourself. Being difficult behind the scenes, rubbing a whole bunch of people the wrong way, and clearly having some sort of substance abuse issue going on.
Yep. Again, this is not me saying I wouldn't want to see Enzo Amore back in WWE. I would love to see Enzo Amore back in WWE. I was entertained by Enzo Amore. But I'm not losing sleep over the fact that Enzo Amore is no longer on my television in WWE.
We have more of a shot of seeing him in AEW with Big Bill. But Big Bill has tag team titles right now, so that ain't happening.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Do you have anything else on your notes there, Cousin Jay?
I do. Matt Striker, during a match that Matt Riddle had at GCW on commentary, said, and I quote, "This guy is a star, a mega $1 million star. I don't care what he does. How do you let him go?" We're talking about the same guy who not only had problems backstage, who tried to say that a TSA agent in JFK had sexually assaulted him. This is the same guy who had several sexual assault allegations against him. As much, again, as I don't like to deal with rumor and what have you, but when you have a lot of people coming forward saying kind of the same thing about somebody, where there's smoke, there's fire, I happen to believe that these things probably happened with Matt Riddle.
Oh, easily.
And Matt Striker coming out saying, I don't care what he's done, you should sign him. It's like, no, there's a thing called a line in the sand. There's a thing called principle that you don't go over that line. You lose credibility, and it's like, oh, yeah, I don't care if you've done X, Y, or Z, whatever you've done in your life, you could be the biggest shitbag in the world. As long as you're good enough to draw money, that's okay with me.
Right.
Now, a day later, when he got absolutely
eviscerated,
bamboozled on Twitter, aka X, about what he said, he actually did apologize, like, oh, yeah, I'm sorry. My comments were tone deaf. I understand. The fact that he didn't realize that right away is like, and I think Matt Stryker is a really talented person on commentary. Quite honestly, he's better than Kevin Patrick. In my view, I enjoyed him more than like a Vic Joseph.
I wouldn't go that far.
I enjoyed him on commentary, but coming out and saying something like this, like, come on, man.
Yeah, and this is coming from a guy who used to be a teacher. He was a substitute teacher, I believe, in the state of New York. Not a smart move, Matt Stryker.
All right. Tim's asking the question, what wrestling hill will you die on?
That the summer of CM Punk in 2011 cost us the summer of R-Truth in 2011. And we missed out as wrestling fans because the summer of Truth would have been better than the summer of Punk.
Wrestling hill I will die on. Like, as far as something that I would actually fight for and say would be like a right thing to do. I mean, clearly we know a hill I would die on is that Coco Beware is not WWE Hall of Fame worthy. But as far as something I'm actually for that, like, I think is worthy to, you know, I'm going to go Hall of Fame also here. If you're going to put in celebrities, there should be a jobber wing of the Hall of Fame too. That's a hill I'd die on.
I thought the hill you die on is the fact that champions shouldn't be losing in non-title matches.
That's another hill I will die on.
Just like
that's absolutely horseshit.
And actually, now that I think about it, the one hill I will die on is stop giving matches on free television that were rematches from the previous premium live event. If I just spent 75 hours watching WrestleMania night 4, 5, and 6, please don't give me one of those matches on Raw or SmackDown the following week. It's stupid. Sorry.
Yeah.
That and Chris Jericho should not have put over Fandango at WrestleMania 29.
All right. So if you want to talk about somebody who is doing stuff in a different way to get himself over to a certain thing, to become the thing that his daddy never became.
Baby.
Cody Rhodes officially accepted this week being the best man in a fan's wedding. You want to talk about doing something differently? Cody Rhodes in an interview said, I love CM Punk. I think The Rock is the most electrifying man in all of entertainment. I'm not going to flinch. I'm still going to finish my story. It doesn't matter if they're here. I love the attitude. I'm sure behind the scenes there's something different going on in his brain a little bit. But the fact that he's going out there and like, no, I'm going to be me. I'm going to do things differently. I'm going to get to that level. I'm going to make it so undeniable. The fans are going to love me so much because of the things I do, not only in the ring, but outside of the ring. They will embrace me so much, they'll have to put that title on me.
Yeah. If I had known this now, or if I had known then what I know now, I definitely would have invited Cody Rhodes to my wedding. And we almost, and a funny story, we almost sent an invitation to Mick Foley.
Yes.
Because I would have, if Mick Foley had showed up for my wedding, it would have been the greatest thing ever.
All right, so hills to die on. Tim says that Sasha Banks is mid. Chris Brown says for him, it's that Jim Johnston has belonged in the WWE Hall of Fame for 20 plus fucking years, and I've never seen a viable reason to keep him out.
Another hill that I would die on is I don't understand the people who worship a guy who has absolutely done nothing but embarrass the professional wrestling business than the guy who has wrestled fuck dolls and 9-year-old children.
Yeah.
I don't understand the affinity towards Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks, but anyway, one last note I actually have. So we've been wondering for a while with the partnership of the Street Profits and Bobby Lashley about what they're going to be called and all that stuff. Are they going to be the new Hurt Business? Are they going to be doing the Hurt Profits or the Hurt Street or whatever the hell it is, or Street Business, whatever the hell it was?
The Almighty Profits.
They have finally come up with a name for the Profits and Bobby Lashley.
Yes.
The Pride.
All right. Who is Mufasa? Who's Simba?
I hate to say it, but Angelo Dawkins is Pumbaa.
Okay. I was going to say, who's Pumbaa? All right.
Well, Bobby Lashley has to be Mufasa because he's the oldest. Okay. Montez Ford definitely would sing more like Simba and definitely has the moves like Simba. He's got the moves like Simba. He's got the moves like Simba. He got the moves. But yeah, that's the only way you do it.
Yeah.
Yes, and Angelo Dawkins would be Pumbaa.
Okay.
That's a terrible name. I'm sorry. Hurt Business was cool. Street Business would have been cool. Anything else would have been cool. The Pride just sounds stupid. I'm sorry.
And they're going against a new faction. And it feels like that new faction shouldn't lose. One of them is going to turn into... Now, why am I blanking on the faction's name? The Reckoning and Slapjack.
Oh, Retribution.
Retribution. One of them is going to turn into Retribution. We make this faction only for them to lose.
And it was the Hurt Business that took out Retribution.
It's funny because it's true.
It's funny because it's true. So Bobby Lashley would plow through it. Just like they did the same thing with the LWO. Here, let's bring in Carlito and have him fight Bobby Lashley for no apparent reason.
Yeah.
Yeah? The Pride. And that's Karrion Kross with the Authors of Pain, Scarlet, and the GOAT.
Precious Paul Ellering.
Precious Paul Ellering. WWE Hall of Famer Precious Paul Ellering.
Yes.
Glad to see the Authors of Pain back. I always enjoyed them as a tag team. Bunch of big, beefy dudes beating the shit out of everybody. So happy to see them, and I'm always happy to see Paul
beat
Ellering.
Them against the Viking Raiders at some
point.
point.
God, yes. Them and Otis.
Yeah!
Yeah! But yeah, the Pride is Bobby Lashley and the Street Profits.
Yeah, Tim says Street Business would have been good.
Yeah, I agree.
All right. What else do we got? Did you do your top 10 list, Brainless one?
Oh, Cousin Jay, I didn't think you'd ask, even though I know you ask every episode. I knew it was coming. Yes, I do have a top 10 list for this week. I have a very interesting top 10 list, and I could have went a whole bunch of different ways. I could have went up with the top 10 things that Tony Khan can do instead of going on Twitter. I could have came up with the top 10 things that are going to happen now that Jinder Mahal is fighting for the WWE World Championship on Monday. But instead, I'm going to do what I do best, and that's absolutely shit on the secondary wrestling organization known as AEW. A lot of people might not know this, but we do because we live in the local area, and I actually watched the news, and I also watched El Jefe's interview with the Top Dogs. If you haven't seen it, I don't know how we can share that. We could probably possibly put El Jefe, F and Mark's Hall of Famers interview with FTR, as AEW is in Norfolk tomorrow for Collision.
Yes.
So it got me to thinking. And I have my top 10 list. And it is the top 10 reasons why I am not going to AEW Collision tomorrow in Norfolk, Virginia.
Okay.
Number 10, I heard Yankeeography was having Susan Waldman on the show.
Oh my God!
Roger Clemens is in the box.
He's in George's box,
The fact
and he's back.
that woman is nails on a chalkboard are better than Susan Waldman talking. Number 9, my dog told me not to go because she doesn't like Jungle Boy.
Yeah, I mean, you get one sniff of people, and you know.
And Luna's a great judge of character. She thinks the world of Cousin Jay. So obviously that dog knows character, and she knows that Jungle Boy isn't a good character.
Yes.
Number 8, they're not giving me 2 hours of Danhausen going around cursing people. Not like cussing them, not like cussing them out, like actually cursing people. I will say this: if they tell me that Danhausen was going to be there cursing people, and I can somehow, some way, get the pretentious twat waffle himself from Wavy 10 to show up, and he gets cursed by Danhausen, I will go to Collision tomorrow. Other than that, no. But yeah, because Danhausen's not going to be cursing people for 2 hours, I am not going. Number 7, I booked a root canal with no Novocaine since that would be less painful than sitting through 2 hours of Collision.
I think if he swapped out Novocaine with Tony Khan's cocaine, you might be feeling a little better. Don't do drugs.
Yes. Number 6, I'll just stay home and watch Clash 13 instead. Because if I'm just going to
great alternative.
Because if I'm going to sit there and watch 2 hours of wrestling where there's no storyline, no direction, people making multiple appearances for no apparent reason, a magic show, and a shit ton of botches, I could just stay home and watch Clash 13.
Hey, there was a direction. There was a storyline. The Big Cat wanted Lex Luger in the worst way, and he went at Big Cat warp speed.
My favorite part, and as much as I love watching the Z-Man miss in the crossbody because primetime Brian Lee's just, for whatever reason, stopped and stayed in the corner, Lex Luger no-selling the Motor City Madman when he splashed him in the corner and then hit him with the freaking exposed forearm and pinned him 1, 2, 3 is my favorite part about that show. Lex Luger should be in the WWE Hall of Fame specifically for his performance at Clash 13.
He's in our Hall of Fame because of that.
And I will stand on. That's another hill I will die on. Number 5, I can't endure a Tony Khan announcement live. Because I'm sure even though he hasn't announced it, but he will make an announcement tomorrow because that's what he does.
I'm looking forward to hearing his announcement.
Number 4, and this one was brought to us by the Brainless wife. A more effective use of my money would just to stay home and wipe my ass with it.
Yeah.
Number 3, no CM Punk, no Brainless one.
Okay. All right.
Number 2, did you happen to see the Young Bucks on Dynamite this week?
See, for me, that is a selling point because I want to boo them. And, they just look like when you talk about people with punchable faces. I mean, professional wrestling, like Kenny and the Bucks are up there. You got people like Ted Cruz. Ted Cruz has a face you really want to punch.
I've never wanted to punch a politician more in the face than Ted Cruz.
Yeah.
And I'm saying that
just oozes douchebag. And there are other politicians out there where it's like, I like to punch you in the face. And it's not because of their policy. They just look like smarmy, full of themselves bullshit. Tim, on his list of punchable faces, the Bucks, Waller, and Theory. Okay.
The Bucks, Nick Sirianni, the head coach of the Philadelphia Eagles, and Paul O'Neill.
And Tim has Donald Trump. Okay.
So, Cousin Jay, that was 2 through 10. Do you happen to take a guess at what number 1 is? Or at least in the ballpark figure where you think it's going to go.
I mean, it's got to be something with the Bucks because Kenny's out right now.
Well, with the fact that the Bucks were number 2, I don't think I can do number 1 for them as well.
The Bucks are, for you, they are your kryptonite on steroids when it comes to professional wrestling.
Oh, God, yes. I can't argue that. But I will say this. It is not the Young Bucks. Because the number 1 reason why I'm not going to the Collision show in Norfolk. The last time I attended a Mud Show wrestling event in Norfolk, not only did I alienate the entire crowd, not only did I have Uncle Phil cut a promo on me, but Cousin Jay and I had our lives threatened by a fat guy who brought kitty litter to the show.
True story, bro.
That is my top 10.
All right.
So I guess it means that it's time for the good,
the bad,
and like it says there, the brainless right there. Yeah, where my finger is. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, Cousin Jay, what do you got for your good this week?
So there were a decent amount of good things going on, but I really had to go with Santi Zap from Twitter pointing out that Tony Khan made Jinder Mahal a megastar by tweeting about him. Tony Khan, Booker of the Year for the other promotion. It's like when the Red Sox got Romero Mendoza. We all know he was a Yankee plant.
Right.
Everybody knows. But, yeah, I got to go with Santi Zap and that outstanding response that Randy Orton replied or gave a like to.
Yes. I would have liked to have gone that route. I would have liked to have gone a whole bunch of different routes. But I'm going to go with Braun Breaker this week. Okay. So this week on NXT, they decided they were going to start the Dusty Rhodes Classic Tournament, which tag team wrestling and tournaments are two of my favorite things. But they have put together the tag team of Baron Corbin and Braun Breaker. And on this week, they had a qualifying match against Gallus and shit.
I like Gallus, man.
There was a situation where Paul or Joe or Fred Coffey was in the ring and he got tossed into Wolfgang and Braun Breaker threw him into Wolfgang. Wolfgang held him up like a body slam. Breaker snuck behind him, grabbed Wolfgang and hit him with a German suplex as he was slamming the Coffey dude to the ground. That alone would have gotten it. But I happened to catch his attire that he was wearing at the time.
Yes.
Do you want to know what he was wearing on his attire?
I would love to know what he was wearing. Like, quite honestly, Dusty Rhodes Classic, tag team tournament, and you have a Steiner involved, and it sounds like you got a couple of different continents here. Sounds like the Pat O'Connor Memorial Tag Team Tournament, which we saw part of at Clash 13.
He went from the tie-dye attire to the all dark straight colors to numbers on his attire. The fact that he had numbers all over I said the numbers don't lie, and Braun Breaker is going to be a stud for WWE. So Braun Breaker, on more than one occasion, has gotten my good for this week, and he's getting it again this week.
Okay.
What do you got for your bad?
I got to go with Tony Khan and his Twitter vomit. Usually I give Tony Khan a pass because, like, I don't know. He seems like a mosquito that's yelling at people, right? Where you're like, yeah, you're yelling, but, like, what can you really do? I'm going to squash you. That's what he feels like.
Right.
But like this week, it was like an extra level of petty.
Yeah.
And I was like, All right, Tony. Okay, you're losing me, dude. Like, I love having an alternative for professional wrestling, even though WWE has finally got their shit together, and I think it's been in part because of AEW. And I know Tim is sitting out there right now, foaming at the mouth. More than anything, he wants to see the Miz versus MJF, and he wants the Miz to beat MJF just to be like middle finger to Tony Khan from WWE.
Okay.
All that being said, Tony Khan with his tirade against Jinder Mahal and the booking of WWE, when you talk about the competition, you degrade yourself. And this was just A-level degrading yourself. Tony Khan, just like sit down, shut up. Book your show. Concentrate on booking a better show. Thank you.
Okay. I like it. For me, and I'm not even going to go too much into detail on it because, if you want to know why, for the most part, you can go back to earlier parts of this episode or go to a previous episode. And my Young Bucks are my bad for this week. Only because of the fact that they came out looking like douchebags on Wednesday, and I have to give it to them just for that. But the fact is, I hate those motherfuckers. You are right. They are kryptonite on steroids for me in professional wrestling, and they get my bad for this week. What do you got for your Brainless?
Before I get to my Brainless, Tim said his good is who the fuck is Hook? His bad AEW playing Judas throughout Jericho's segment. But my Brainless for this week is going to Matt Striker. Striker,
you're the only one on here who can land this plane. Surely you can't be serious.
I am serious, and don't call me Shirley. Matt Striker saying it doesn't matter what Matt Riddle's done. He's a mega million star. I don't know how he could have been let go by any company. Teacher, there is a reason why, like, there are supposed to be rules. There are lines in the stands. You're not supposed to cross them. Matt Riddle's name's been associated with a lot of lines that should not be crossed. Some of those lines Vince McMahon crossed.
Yep.
I didn't give Vince McMahon a pass. No. Matt Riddle trying to say, oh, do whatever you want as long as you make money, no big deal. No. At some point, you got to draw a line in the sand. That's why I don't watch the Saudi Arabia shows.
Yep. And I don't unless
I almost stopped watching WWE specifically because of that. Because I'm like going, they killed somebody who spoke out against their government. WWE is still accepting money from them.
Yep.
And it has nothing to do with anything but sheer greed. As much as they've tried to say, like, oh, yes, well, we can't change the culture within Saudi Arabia by not going there. We could change it, though, by partnering with them. And it's like, no, I don't agree. They're doing something wrong, and they're trying to pay money to fix their PR. That's what they're doing. And Matt Riddle has done a lot of, it seems like, shifty things. And Matt Striker kind of minimizing those potential things on top of the fact that he wrongly accused a TSA agent or security guard of sexually assaulting him in the airport when he was the one who was belligerent and drunk.
Yep.
You're a professional wrestler. in the biggest company in the world. Yeah, you were on a long flight. Clearly, you don't have your shit together. You still don't have your shit together. But you got a dude on commentary defending you. I mean, I understand he's trying to prop him up as this big, ginormous star, but when you're more or less saying, like, do whatever you want, you could kill somebody, you could sexually assault somebody, no big deal, as long as you draw money for the company, no big deal. I know he apologized after. I know he did. Yep. But, like, you don't know that that's wrong ahead of time?
Open mouth, insert foot. Matt Striker.
Yeah. I'm glad he apologized. I have some grace for that. Like I said a couple of weeks ago when I said that Sonny was my shitbag of the year.
Mm-hmm.
If she was actually contrite and sorry for what she did, I have grace. I feel that Matt Striker actually realized after, I said something wrong. All that being said, it's still my bad for this week.
Brainless.
He should have known ahead of time. I will get over what Matt Striker said.
Okay.
So, what about you, Brainless one?
You're going to be surprised when I tell you that Tony Khan got my Brainless for this week. In the words of the legendary football player and coach Herman Edwards, you play to win the game. And that's all the Jaguars had to do last week was beat Houston, and they would not only make the playoffs, but they would win their division. Losing would put them in a situation where if they lose, they could be out of the playoffs completely. And this was after they announced that they were going to sell playoff tickets, and they lost the game. On top of the fact that they did that, and I'm going to lump him in because anything that happens with the Jaguars, Tony Khan is fully responsible for too. The fact that his exchange with the Jinder, that got the Jinder over and all that stuff, I'm sorry, Tony Khan, you are brainless, and you have been getting my brainless a hell of a lot lately. You might want to consider bucking the trend. From one brainless to another. You got to do something, Tony Khan. I get no one.
Go ahead.
I was going to say I get no enjoyment out of giving you my brainless. Psych. Ah.
So Tim in the comments, this I would say is a tacit. Also, Tony Khan as brainless, but Tim put the Young Bucks retiring Sting.
I'll wait till that happens. I'm gonna retroactively make that my brainless for whenever Revolution is.
It's in March.
Oh, okay. Anyway, well, if you like what you've seen, whether you're a first-time watcher or a continuous fan, make sure you like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, follow us on Instagram, and subscribe to us on YouTube at the letter T, the letter H, the letter E, the letter F, the letter N, MARKS, the F in Marks. If you like, follow and subscribe to us, we will do the same back. That has always been our
mantra. And make sure you set up notifications so that when we go live, you will be notified that we are live, whether it's on X, whether it's on the Facebooks, whether it's on the YouTubes. That way you can join in the conversation about our favorite sport that we all love to hate. Professional
New York Jets.
Wrestling. Them too.
Fuck the Jets.
By the way, as much as I'd love to put Aaron Rodgers in this conversation right now, but
I'm going to hold judgment on that too.
We'll see as far as all that goes. We are also on Spotify, so make sure you subscribe there. So that way, if you missed the show live, you can take it on the road with you, whether it is Facebook, whether it is YouTube, or Spotify. But if you're just looking for a listening version of the show, we are on Spotify. We're on all of them.
All of the above. We'll do it live. Fucking thing sucks. Well, I guess, wait a minute. Not this time. Curtis Axel, You interrupted me before I was able to do my shtick. Well, I hate to break it to you, Brainless One. This part is not about your shtick. This goes to somebody else. Who is that, Curtis Axel, that this goes to? Well, you know there, Cousin Jay and Brainless One, that today, which is January, what is it, 12th? 13th?
January 12th.
It was the 12th. I was right. I don't know why I second-guessed myself. Did you know today, January 12th of 2024, at an astonishing 3,274 days, I, FM Mark Hall of Fame, is still alive in the 2015 Royal Rumble. So for episode 343 of everyone's favorite wrestling podcast, the FM Marks.
I'm Jay. He is
Brainless. Oh, I'm the Brainless One. Make sure you mark out
with your guac out. See you, everybody.
Thanks for tuning in.
Have a good week, and we will see you next Friday.
And don't hinder the Jinder.
It's Friday.
Yeah? Yeah?
Yeah.